Hello, everybody. Hi, Amy. Can you hear me? I can't hear Amy. Can you guys hear me? If you could let me know in chat if you can hear me. Okay. All right, Amy, I can't hear you, so you might have to leave and come back. We need a better platform than StreamYard. So what's up, everybody? It's been a while, right? How's everyone doing? I hope you're all hanging in there and you're doing okay, locked down in your house. Hey, honeybee. I hope everybody is staying healthy and making the best of this time. I know a lot of people are off of work, and it's really like uncharted territory right now. So, yeah, Amy, let me drop a link for you really quick. Hi, Ari. Ari, I'm sorry, I'm not sure how I pronounce your name. Car Guy 72 down there is sharing a link to our Facebook page. If you all would like to go and like that new page, it's awesome. We also have a PayPal running down there because we do not have Super Chat right now. We don't expect anybody to send anything. It's there if you want to. There were a lot of people who would send super chats. They were greatly appreciated. But right now, super chat's not running on this channel. So there is a PayPal down there in lieu of super chat. And Amy's back. Hey, Amy.
Hi. Sorry, I got trapped somewhere.
That's okay.
In an alternate universe.
That's okay. Yeah, it happens. So as far as the new name, people are asking. I'm not really going to address that. Just we're rebranded. We are now WTAF, and
we're very excited.
Correct. We're very excited. And you want to tell them what WTAF stands for?
Sure. It's Wicked Truths and F-bombs.
I think the F-bombs is a little deceiving because it's not what everybody thinks it is.
It is. The F's stand for things like forensics and facts and falsehoods and all those cool words that have to do with what we discuss here.
Yes.
So we will drop a lot of F-bombs.
Yeah. Sometimes we might actually drop the real F-bomb, but not intentionally.
Not me. Our mamas are listening.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, that's what WTAF stands for. And we are excited about it. We have a Facebook page. I believe the mods are sharing it down there in the chat.
Fudge bombs. My dog leaves those.
No, Glowing Ember, not all F-bombs are 4-letter words. Can you believe it? If I'm being real, I've said the F-bomb a lot over the past couple of weeks because life has been crazy, hasn't it, Amy?
Life is completely different than it was 3 weeks ago, yes.
Yes.
And we've been thinking about all of you as well during this time. We missed you, and we hope that you're taking care of yourselves and staying healthy mentally and physically.
Aw, Joan, I don't know why you don't have sound. I'm sorry. I would leave and come back, probably. Hey, Becca. So, where do we start? Because this arrest affidavit was leaked, and then yesterday, El Paso County actually made the arrest affidavit public because of the leaked one. I was telling True Helper earlier, and I know, Amy, you know this as well. I actually sent this entire 32-page document to Staples to have it printed, and I went and picked it up, and I did the whole pickup line thing. I didn't go inside, etc., etc. It is so extensive, so extensive. It's crazy.
And Danielle has a better moral compass than Amy does because Amy didn't use her printer. She used her other half's printer because she wanted to conserve her own toner.
Yeah. Yeah, Doodlebug. I don't know. I don't know. I come from that generation. I wasn't raised on computers. Everything was paper. And I still like to have paper in front of me. I do so much better reading paper than I do reading a link online or on my phone or something like that.
I absolutely do too, especially when there's dates and times and I'm trying to make sense of them. I can't scroll looking back and forth. I need to be able to flip. I'm
Right,
tactile.
right.
So
Yeah, I'm the same way. I went through it earlier. I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? Where should we start? I don't really want to go through the whole affidavit. I mean, we are going to eventually over a series of lives, but considering it's 32 pages and oh gosh, let me hold on. Let me get the total on the paragraphs here.
oh, 199.
199 paragraphs. We would be here till tomorrow. So,
As much as we missed you, we want to make this last.
yes, yes, we're going to go through this piece by piece. Start at the beginning. Okay. So,
Can we just remind everybody something that
of course.
did we go over like the rules for the channel real quick? The same ones that applied before? We don't talk about.
No, you can go over them though.
Okay. Okay. So just really keep in mind we don't talk about other creators. We don't bash other creators. We're kind to each other. And that is pretty much it. And we can now discuss Harley, but we are not going to accuse her of anything.
Yes. Yep, that's where we're at.
That's where we're at with that. And the other thing is just remember that this affidavit, because I've heard other people talk in the group and stuff. This affidavit was prior to the discovery of Gannon's body.
Right.
So I know it's like confusing sometimes. I saw some posts online or whatever, and you just have to remember that. So
yes,
that's it.
So, if we start at the beginning, these are some things that I have found interesting. Let me find it. Because the beginning has a lot of none. I don't know. Let's see.
Could probably skip down to at least 14.
Okay.
But we could even skip further if you wanted to.
Yeah, let's see. Number 8 on page 1, they talk about the significant amount of exterior video footage from individual privately owned neighborhood security cameras, businesses around Colorado Springs, and cameras in other surrounding areas, as well as footage of the exterior of the house. If you skip down to number 14 on page 2 of 32, it goes into detail and states that Gannon Letitia is Gannon's stepmother and was Gannon's only adult supervision in the days preceding and on the day of his murder. At the time of Gannon's murder, Letitia was employed by School District 20 as an assistant teacher, although I have also learned that she is no longer employed there. This is interesting because if you guys remember, her employer came out and said that they decided on the 24th, which was the Friday before Gannon went missing, that they were not going to continue Tisha's employment because of some discrepancies in her work history, is what it said, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we don't know is we don't know if her employer notified her of that.
So, right about, and I wish I would have told you this before we came online. So, I found in two places about an hour ago, but there was so much going on while we were getting ready to do this, that apparently they had notified her in some fashion, and she had failed to respond. And I found that interesting because that's kind of how she operates when she hears something that she doesn't want to hear. She just pretends like it's not happening.
Right.
So,
but then she went to the extent of actually
calling into work that Monday.
Just Joan, I'm not sure why you don't have sound. Everybody else has sound. Did you close? I don't know if you're using a phone or if you're using your computer, but I would completely log out and log back in maybe. I'm sorry. So that's interesting. So then she proceeded to, she ignored that. She ignored her employer saying they were terminating her employment.
Mm-hmm.
And then she proceeded to call in.
Right.
Work at like 4 or something in the morning. I don't have the exact time. We'll come across it, but
Just interesting.
that's strange, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, did she need the extra, like?
Very strange.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Exactly. So then they talk about under 14A. They talk about.
I wonder if it all ties back to her alibi.
That's what I was gonna say. She
I
needed
do.
to be employed.
Yeah, Bridget.
To
It was
have
like
that alibi.
4:30.
Okay.
Right. Is everything okay? Are you good, Amy?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello. Oh gosh. Can you hear me?
Can,
I'm here.
I can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can everybody in the Okay. Okay, you can hear me. Okay. All right, we're good then. So,
Right.
no, you're
Sorry.
fine. You're fine. We're a little rusty here, guys. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
It's been a minute.
And yeah, it has. Sorry. You have two blondes over here. So.
Yeah.
Ay.
If you go back up to number 13, they speak about the vehicles, and we had talked previously in the past about the red Nissan Frontier being taken. We had spoke about Letitia's Volkswagen SUV being taken, and Harley's car being taken. And then there comes the two rental cars. There's a silver Nissan Altima that Letitia's aunt actually rented and was utilized by Letitia on January 30th through February 1st. So that was the vehicle she was driving when she did that interview with her back to the camera. That's interesting. And it was rented after her SUV was seized by EPSO on January 29th. And then there's also a second rental car, the white Kia Rio, and that was used by Tisha on January 28th to 29th. That's the car that she actually picked Al up in the airport from.
Right. While her car was parked in short-term parking.
Right. She drove her car to short-term parking and left it at the airport, which is, I don't know. She's
bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of bizarre things going on here. And I think that we will see this is just what I was thinking earlier. I think a lot of this that we're seeing in this affidavit is going to change because this was, like you had said, it was prior to Gannon's body being found.
Right.
This is what really confuses me, and we don't have to go through it page by page. We can kind of bounce around if you're okay with that.
I like to bounce. Not like that. Stop. Danielle's dirty.
Oh boy. Anyways, but so this is why what I'm very, very confused about. Maybe the chat can help us out with it. So Roderick Drayton spoke openly about how when Tisha returned that day, she did not return with Gannon.
Right.
We also saw her backing the truck up into the driveway. I don't know how many times it took her to back up, but whatever. So is this other security footage that they've spoken about in the past where law enforcement and whoever it was said that there's other footage that exists besides what we have seen? Does that footage show Gannon getting out of the truck? Or where am I confused at? Because Roderick Drayton publicly said that Gannon did not return home with her.
Yeah, he went as far as to say he could, because there was audio on it. She exited the car. She walked up the driveway. He could hear the security code, the garage door go down. Only one set of footsteps and no Gannon.
Yeah.
And he mentions just so that you have a perspective on what he's talking about. The day that they went to Garden of the Gods, I believe, he says you can hear on the video, like, Gannon, you get on this side. Lena, you get on this side. Like, so she's talking to those children when they're in her care.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't hear anything when they come back except for Letitia.
Yeah, Amanda, Texas gal, that's an interesting thought. I thought that as well, that he may have been in the bed of the truck. I think I previously said this. You know how Tisha was adamant that Gannon returned home with her.
Right. A little bit of
Adamant.
truth.
And I said, maybe he did, you guys. Maybe he did come home with her, but he wasn't alive, or maybe, I mean,
or conscious.
Right, wasn't conscious. So I wonder if she backed the truck into the garage and then carried him in that way. That's a possibility. It's very Watts-ish. It's very reminiscent of Watts.
It's like she studies true crime and took a little bit from a couple of cases that we all know very well.
Mm-hmm.
Lie, mislead, play cat and mouse, that car.
Right. And, she previously made the statement that the activity in the basement was the dogs.
Yes.
The activity that showed on the home security system was the dogs in the basement, but
I need dogs that clean like that. I'm telling you.
She had a story for everything. For everything.
And you find out as you read through this too that she is giving stories of locations and places before she's even tipped off by police or anybody that they're looking into that. So she's playing that one step ahead game, but she wasn't moving fast enough. She got tripped up because she was doing that. I couldn't believe all of the, for lack of a better term, like can't say it now, surreptitious recordings.
Mhm.
It must have been so difficult for Al to be on the phone with her just playing along and having all those conversations recorded.
Right.
When he knew, you know.
I I have so many questions. So, what's the motive here? I'm very, very confused about what the motive is because, and I think I said this in our Facebook group as well. Why Gannon? Why?
At this point, I can't even really speculate on that because it doesn't make any sense. I'd have to go way, way out somewhere to try to figure that out. And
Yeah.
you know, all it's confusing to talk about because there are all these stories, like the stories about being attacked in the basement and being raped and this and that and the other thing. There's one version where Gannon tries to jump on the rapist's back to try to save Tisha.
Yeah, she's got Gannon protecting her.
Yes, which
Yeah.
is sick.
Um,
If she wanted to be without children, just getting rid of Gannon was not going to solve her problem. She still had Lena.
right. That's what my question stems back to is why Gannon? There's more to it than I think we realize because Al had 2 kids.
Yeah.
Al has 2 kids, Lena and Gannon. So
Honestly, I think that there was there was abuse that had come up earlier in the home with the text about Lena.
mhm.
I assume it was continuing to go on, and maybe Gannon was just a little too vocal and things had gone a little too far, and that was going to be it. It wasn't even going to be an option of her to, because she could have picked, if she was unhappy, she could have picked up her stuff and left, right? But if now you're going to be reported for something and we don't know what kind of abuse it is, at what level, any kind of abuse is horrific. But if you're at the point now where you can't just pick up and leave because you're going to be in some serious trouble, that
Right,
could have triggered something.
right. It's all very, very crazy to me. And Glowing Number said, why in the world did she take a picture of Gannon sleeping that morning? Strange. It is strange, isn't it? It's like more things that she did to create her alibi, create her story. Like, look, here's a picture of him sleeping. He was fine this morning.
But was he
Um,
sleeping? I mean, was he unconscious? And she
right.
was trying to pose him to look like he was all normal. And people are making a big deal about that Nintendo Switch in the bed,
Mhm.
and like kids sleep with their electronics, and that's true, they do. I've seen it a million times. But and then her Googles about, can you locate a switch and stuff like that. To me, this is just my instinct. That picture is very posed. She
Mm.
takes pictures for a reason. She doesn't take them because she thinks they're sweet. She doesn't take them
Mhm.
because she takes them for they're self-serving.
Right. Yeah, I'm very confused about a lot of this. And I've read this affidavit. This is probably my 6th or 7th time maybe reading it, and I'm still like, ugh. Um,
I think you started out at a good point. The motive is a really good question. Maybe we can go through and talk about. We don't have to go into detail, but like some of the things that we didn't know before that it that are
yeah.
contained in this, that are kind of, because I know it's not the star of the show or anything, but like a number 21, when they talked about how they received ransom notes
Mhm.
asking for payment in form of Bitcoin and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And they know they were designed to be fraudulent and stuff, but we had no idea about that.
Mm.
And maybe that's why They didn't put any. I mean, does that come back to the rewards, or does the rewards come back to we're not going to deal with that because we are pretty dialed in on who did this?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know, maybe that's why they didn't want a reward. Um, and it goes further to say that investigators, took steps to validate the ransom notes, including resolving and geolocating the ISP address or IP address from the email headers and requesting subscriber information from the ISP that hosted those IP addresses. One of these ransom notes was sent from a foreign based email account that is accessible by multiple individuals.
Yeah,
Investigators were unable to trace the user of the IP address and believe the ransom notes to be fraudulently and strictly designed as a scheme to receive money. So that does kind of make sense on why they didn't want a reward. And if you put into play, they were also investigating the house during this time, and they were finding blood throughout the house, and investigators were coming to their own conclusion.
right,
When you find that amount of blood in a home, you know that something serious has happened.
right. Yeah, blood soaked down to the cement.
Mhm.
Like, yeah,
Yeah. Sonia 71 said, I think she did injure Gannon Sunday night, and rather than owning up, she went down a darker path. I think you were. I agree with that. Just going back to that video of Gannon crying, that was a cry of
Mhm.
pain and
It
fear.
was.
And so,
Or
uh,
if anything, at least severe. I mean, I agree. To me, it sounded like pain, but if I was going to be
right.
a little more liberal, I'd say at least severe emotional abuse. At
Mm-hmm.
that point, it was
Yes.
just like, what can I do? What can I do so all of this stops? So
Mm-hmm.
she'll leave me alone. I'll do anything. Yeah.
Right. Moving on to number 22. Letitia initially claimed that she last saw Gannon on January 27th, 2020, when he left their residence to play with his friends somewhere around 3:15 p.m. Based on the facts outlined below in Letitia's statements to an EPSO dispatcher, Letitia is the last person that ever saw Gannon alive. Letitia stated she attempted to find him at a neighbor's house and sent her daughter, Harley Hunt, to look for Gannon at a park. This is interesting to me for one specific reason. Tisha created that narrative about Gannon having key, the key to the
Mm-hmm.
side gate, and she knew that there would be no footage of him leaving the house
Right.
that day.
Right.
What she didn't, well, and I mean, I guess the sliding back door, she was opening and closing that, I believe. But so
11 times.
right. I think that's why she created that narrative of, well, Gannon had the key to the gate and he was so proud because he was the man of the house while Al was away. And she said that remember one of the things that we said is one of Tisha's early statements one of her early statements was she was in the basement working out
With headphones on.
with headphones on, and Gannon left out the sliding door, back door
Mm-hmm.
on the upstairs floor, which didn't make sense because if you're in the basement, you can't see a child leave out
The
the main
upstairs.
right, the main floor back door on the upstairs of the house. So
Right.
that's interesting.
And if you have a locked gate, why are you going out through the back? Do you know what I'm saying? Why are you going
Right,
out through the backyard?
right.
It just doesn't. She mentions things for reasons.
Yeah, she totally just concocted these series of lies around her actions. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. She was telling us a story the whole time. You just have to pick pieces out of what she
Mhm.
said in the stories there. Um, let's see, Maui girl, what are your thoughts about movements up and downstairs at the same time when T returned? I think Gannon went downstairs to his bedroom, so that explains the movement upstairs or in the basement. And I think Tisha was upstairs. I don't know. It's crazy.
It is that that I haven't figured out. I haven't put that together yet, honestly.
Yeah.
That's I'm still, I guess I'm still shocked by like just random things like when they took her in for questioning, she started having a panic attack and they called 911 and she was transported to the hospital. Why was she stuffing tissues down her
I was
pants?
just gonna say, can I stop you and ask you why she was stuffing tissues down her
I
pants?
don't know why I'm obsessed with that statement, but
It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen.
why are we shoving tissues down our pants? I don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Oh, Sparta says DNA tissues. Hmm.
Oh, were they her tissues that she had been using?
Maybe they didn't
And
specify,
she
but
didn't want cops to.
interesting
She,
because when she talked to the news station, she said they didn't offer me anything to eat or drink, and they specify in here that they did. Maybe she was being very careful, not because she didn't want to do a buccal swab. Maybe she she knew it
yeah.
was going to come up, so she was being really careful not to eat or drink anything, and wanted those, tissues. If she
Wow.
was crying, wow,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So if we move on to number 23, Letitia lied to investigators on multiple occasions, has unexplained abnormal behavior such as obtaining a rental car, disconnecting her cell phone from the cellular network for an extended period of time, the false reporting an alleged rape, abnormal pattern of travel, a continuously evolving story with material changes in facts and circumstances, and has since left the state of Colorado. These actions, when combined with the other facts in this affidavit, support the totality of probable cause for the requested warrant and will be discussed below. The murder of Gannon Stauch.
Hmm.
Oh, so investigators believe that Gannon was murdered by Letitia Stauch in the afternoon hours after approximately 2:14 p.m. That's when she arrived home on the surveillance camera of January 27th, 2020 at his residence, and more specifically in his bedroom. Physical evidence recovered from the residence and inside Gannon's bedroom supports that a violent event occurred in his bedroom, which caused bloodshed, including blood spatter on the walls and enough blood loss to stain his mattress, soak through the carpet pad, and stain the concrete below his bed.
That's heinous.
It is heinous. It is heinous. And first of all,
So
blood spatter on the walls takes force
she had, okay, so she had to hit him in the head for all that to happen.
or shoot him.
Or shoot him. Okay, yeah, shoot him. And I saw somebody else in the chat. I can't give you credit. I can't scroll back, but part of the reason she said the rapist or the attacker had a gun was to place a gun in the house.
Right.
So yeah, a gunshot, or I don't know how nobody heard that though.
Do you know how much blood it takes to soak through carpet padding and
A
stain
lot.
concrete?
A
That
lot.
takes a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Bernadette surprised
Yeah.
she didn't do a headstand and sing "Oh
Jody
Holy Night" in
Arias.
the police station like Jody Arias. Wow, this
Audra,
woman.
oh, I said the same thing about the electrical outlet that she cleaned around it, and how when they pulled it off, just I mean, I wasn't there, but the way it looks when you look at that photo is like it was gunked and sticky. Like there was an outline around that outlet. That's like
Right,
blood.
and you don't get blood like that around an outlet and inside an outlet
No.
without some kind of spraying blood or like a geyser of blood. I don't know how else to explain it. You know, that takes a significant amount of
Hmm.
blood being pumped out of the body by the heart for
Right.
for blood to get around there like that.
Well, let's be honest. If I were to take like a thing of like indigo dye, like if you're gonna like tie dye or something. If I were to
Mhm.
take like a 2 cup measuring thing, liquid measuring cup, and pour it out on the spot of my carpet, I I pretty much would say that that dye is not going to make it down to the cement, which is porous, and stain it. I
Right,
really don't.
right, right.
And blood is not the same consistency. So that's a lot of blood.
Okay, so think about it like this. When people change oil on their car, a lot
Right.
of people will put down like old carpet underneath
Right.
um
To protect their driveway.
to protect their driveway or the interior of their garage floor cement,
Hmm.
and
It doesn't soak through.
it doesn't soak through.
Yeah.
And oil is, I don't want to say it's the same consistency of blood
It's
because I don't know,
viscous.
but it's similar. It's
Hmm.
similar, and oh, yeah, it's a lot to take in emotionally. My heart goes out to Landon and Al and every family member of Gannon who loved him because they have to read this. This and sadly this is the only touching the surface of what they are going to see and what they are going to hear over this entire trial process.
Right.
Um,
But you
oh,
I will say this: I'll never let these pieces of paper become his legacy. This is not.
absolutely,
This is
absolutely.
not. This is. It's just very, very disturbing.
So, number 26. Based on evidence recovered from the residence, Gannon's remains were eventually brought through the house into the garage and likely loaded into the back of Letitia's Volkswagen. After cleaning the murder scene, Letitia utilized her vehicle to transport and dump Gannon's remains on the evening of January 28th, 2020. Letitia likely disposed of his remains off of Highway 105 and South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. Indeed, the Metro Crime Lab determined that blood discovered in Gannon's bedroom, the Stauch's garage, and a blood on a piece of particle board located off of Highway 105 South Perry Park Road all matched his DNA profile. Yeah, guys, there's a lot to get into. So I'm sorry if we're not to what you want to discuss yet, but we'll get there. I promise. I promise. Just sit tight with us. Um, and remember her saying, Letitia said, well, Gannon cut his foot in the garage on
Hmm.
Al's woodworking stuff. So there she explains the wood and she explains the blood.
She also explains how the wood could have gotten on that road because a lot of times they have old pieces of wood and they get rid of them and
Or
they
it could
fly
have,
out the back of the truck.
right,
You
right.
remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a piece of particle board, I think of like literally, they specify that it's particle board, and we all know what particle board is. It's like what subflooring is made up of out of, or
Or children's bedroom furniture.
yeah, yeah.
A lot of times, like when you get your kids those like first little bedroom sets, or like just being with somebody that was in the military, like the bunk beds and stuff, like they're
Right,
particle board because you move a
right.
lot.
So this is what I think, and this is just a thought, just a theory that's crossing my mind. I think she got a piece of wood from the garage. And Gannon had then been stuffed into a suitcase, which is disgusting to even say. But, and she put that suitcase on the particle board, and that's how she got him up the stairs, through the house, into the garage, and into the back of her vehicle. I think she
Right.
used that particle board to try to prevent any blood that was spilling from the suitcase.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
And we now know why everybody was talking about a brown suitcase, because she
yeah,
mentioned it to the police.
yeah, that was one of the things I had said. Gosh, it was like February 6th or 7th.
Mm-hmm.
If you go back to that live, I tried to tell people without saying it because I had information that I couldn't share. I couldn't just say, hey, this is what I know. So I like said it hypothetically, like, so what if there was a suitcase and what if there was blood in the house?
Right.
And I'm very sad. Well, I'm thankful that people confided in me and trusted in me and gave me information like this. And I'm thankful that they were honest with me.
Right.
I'm very sad that this information was ultimately the truth.
Truth.
That's sad to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um so oh boy. 27 on Monday, January 27th, 2020, Gannon Stauch stayed home from school. Based on text messages from Letitia to Mr. Stauch, Gannon was up most of Sunday night with a stomach problem. Letitia did tell Gannon School, Grand Mountain Elementary, that Gannon would be absent on Monday. Investigators were able to verify that Gannon was marked as an excused absence that day. Letitia also told Al that I'm just going to give them an excuse at work and stay with him. Indeed, Letitia did come up with an excuse and told her employer via text message at or about 4:37 a.m. that her stepdad was killed after being hit by a car and she would not be able to come to work that day.
Okay, stop right there. If your kid is sick, why aren't you just calling the school who deals with parents and sick children all the time and say, my child is sick and I
Right.
don't have another adult in this house to help me out? Why would you concoct a story like that?
Right. Well,
What is that all about?
and 4:37 in the morning is a very, very, very early time.
Yeah.
Why was she up at 4:37 in the morning making this plan? I mean, I get it if you're working at a school, which she wasn't because she had been fired, but isn't that an odd time? Does anybody else think that's an odd time? Why was she up that at that time in the morning sending these text messages?
The
Most
only thing I can think of is like some places, like they ask you to call in like before 6 a.m. so they can call a substitute teacher, or you know what I mean? It could be something like that. But
yeah.
I mean, obviously, we're both thinking she was up all night, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
look at, like, if you know, no, we're not going to skip ahead. I'm not going to get out of line, but later on, you see all her text message, or not text messages, internet searches, and the time she was searching. She was
Right.
definitely up all night and trying to figure out what to do. And the question is, what condition was Gannon in when she was trying to figure out what to do with him,
Right.
and why? Why?
Right. Did she hurt him on Sunday night significantly? And this was just, maybe it wasn't, obviously, we know, we'll obviously get to that about her internet searches. She was unhappy in her marriage, all of that stuff, blah, 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 blah. But did she hurt him on Sunday night? And in her mind, the only way to save her own behind was to get rid of Gannon. Because if she hurt him that bad, that's child abuse. You're going to jail.
So I can buy into that. I can, but I actually have sort of a differing, not really differing, but I think it has more to do with Lena had already ratted her out once,
Mhm.
and Gannon was about to do it again.
Hmm.
And maybe he, maybe he didn't even say it in a way, like maybe when he was crying, like he wanted his phone to talk to his daddy, or wanted to text his mommy, or she had his phone,
Right.
something like that, and she just knew, like, her whole world was going to come crashing in on her.
Yeah.
Because don't you think, if a child, um if, maybe that's why she kept him home from school too, because she didn't want him going into school and telling a teacher. That we talked about this before. Our teachers,
Right.
he had a doctor's appointment that day too, apparently. She didn't take him to the doctor because either he was in no condition to go to the doctor, or because they're a mandatory reporter. And maybe she kept him home from school because A, he wasn't in any condition to go to school, or B, they're mandatory reporters.
Right.
It was like the walls were closing in on her.
Yeah, they were. Um, sure. Sharma Lily, you make a good point. Her stepfather was dead years ago,
Oh, yeah.
like 2004-ish or something, unless I don't know. And Bridget, yes, Broderick did say that Gannon looked very weak. Yes, Becca, absolutely. There was a text that Al made. It's in our group somewhere. Al made Lena apologize to Tisha for accusations that Lena made against her. Angie, listen, Angie, we are totally thinking this. Totally thinking that she is killed before. I think that's both
Yes.
mine and Amy's thoughts that
The
she.
the first time we texted each other about this,
Yeah,
we both said, I don't think this is the first time she's killed somebody.
right, right. The ex-husband, I believe he died of a drug overdose, but does that I don't even know. I there's I have questions about that one too. The circumstances surrounding it, but um so I guess if we move on to number 29, images were taken off of Letitia's cell phone. Sorry guys, on Letitia's cell phone at or about 8:13 and 8:17 a.m. on the morning of January 27th, 2020, showing Gannon sleeping in his bed. Of particular note, his Nintendo Switch, a small video game console, is visible in the photo lying next to him on the bed. Mr. Stauch has said that this gaming system was of high importance to Gannon. To date, investigators have been unable to locate the Nintendo Switch. It should also be noted that Letitia used her phone the following day, January 28th, 2020, at or about 12:57 p.m. to conduct a Google search. Can Nintendo find my Switch? This is also detailed in a list of some of her search history in paragraph 141, and reasonably occurred because she was contemplating how she would dispose of the Switch.
Right. Well, also, if her story was Gannon running away, he's going to take his prized possession with him, right? But
Right,
she can't necessarily get rid of Gannon in that, if that's traceable. That's why she left the cell phone at home.
right, right.
So,
I'll be curious to know if that Switch was inside the suitcase with him when he was found.
it's so sad.
It's very sad. It's very sad. Um, let's see. 30. I conducted a Google search for the term "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" and learned that Switch does not come with any sort of tracking ability. As such, Letitia likely felt it was safe to dispose of the Switch and use the missing Switch to help deceive law enforcement into searching for Gannon as a possible runaway.
Right.
Ultimately, investigators located video surveillance from a neighbor's surveillance camera that showed what investigators believed to be Letitia and an individual that appeared to match Gannon's physical description depart their residence in the Nissan Frontier at or about 10:16 a.m. on January 27th, 2020. The video camera is several homes away and does not provide images clear enough to make positive identifications of those captured in the recordings. Their vehicle returned at or about 2:19 p.m. and Letitia exited the vehicle. After after viewing the video, I cannot be sure if another person exited the vehicle or not, but I submit Gannon likely did return home with Letitia that afternoon. These times, corroborated by data collected from an ADT security system installed in the Stauch's residence, are discussed below in more detail. So, that corroborates what Roderick Drayton said, that Letitia returned home and on his surveillance,
At 2:19.
yeah, on his surveillance that he did not see Gannon get out of that truck
Mm-hmm.
and come in the house with Letitia. So how
Right.
did Gannon get into the home? That's like a question that is driving me nuts. How did he get in that house?
Right. I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I have a question mark next to 32 because to me, I can't. And if somebody in the chat can give me an explanation of how that reads. After viewing the video, I cannot be sure if another person exited the vehicle or not, but I submit Gannon likely did return home with Letitia that afternoon. How? 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 If you don't see, why do you think? Because you don't think he was, because they think they saw him walking out, and so in order to die in the home with that amount of blood, he would have to have returned. Is that what they're saying? Because they're putting his death between 2:19 and like 5:30.
They're putting his death, I'd have to go, I don't know where it's listed in there, but I think they're putting his death at like 2:19 and 2:45 because there's a 30-minute gap that when she returned home, she had left her cell phone home at all day long.
Right.
Every person on here that has a cell phone knows that's like our lifeline. Um, Investigators found it very strange that even though she had left her cell phone home all day, when she returned home at 2:19 or whatever time it was, she didn't even touch her cell phone for 30 minutes.
Right.
She didn't unlock it, she didn't check her messages, nothing.
Nothing.
I personally think that's when it occurred in that time frame. And another reason is because Lena was going to be arriving home from school at 3:15.
Right. And
So,
then when Lena gets home, she sends Lena out to ride her bike.
right, right. But is it possible that Gannon was severely injured already inside that truck and she backed the truck into the garage, got him in the house? Is that what we don't see on the video surveillance?
I don't.
Because there has to be something that makes cops think that Gannon went back in that house that afternoon. Right?
I guess I guess, but they say they think that she got out. They can't see another person get out. So, but they don't say like, oh, we see her remove something from the back of the truck.
Right.
And she did back it in the driveway, but you would think with the garage door open and stuff that going to the tailgate and taking something out would be visible, right?
I don't know unless she pulled a Chris Watts.
That's true.
I mean, he drug Shanann out of the house to the garage and was able to carry her low enough so that the truck bed
Yeah,
covered
but
the
he
view of her
was,
body.
yeah, that's true. But the bed of his truck was slightly backed into the garage.
It was. It
Hers
was.
is not. Like, from my understanding and from watching those videos, if that's the same video, I mean, I don't even know if that was from that day, but if that's correct, the way, at least the way I looked at it, and maybe somebody else saw it differently, but the way I looked at it was, if she walked into her garage and hit the garage door, it would go down without hitting her truck.
Right.
So there's that gap there.
Yeah. If you want, you can go on to number 33.
Sure.
I have to do something on my phone really quick.
Okay. All right. Based on data returned from the Stauch's ADT security system, the motion detectors in the living room or basement did not register any activity from approximately, 10, 12 hours, which is like, I'm bad with military time, 8. Oh, gosh. Sorry. We'll go back to that. Until Letitia and Gannon enter the home approximately 2:22. So that's 8:12 a.m. and then 2:22.
It was actually, sorry, it's 10:12 a.m.
Oh, is it? You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. That's why I was
Yeah.
getting messed up.
No, it's
Thank
fine.
you.
It's fine. You're welcome.
Investigators confirmed Lena to be at school and confirmed that Harley was at work. As such, investigators believe there was likely nobody else in the residence except Letitia and Gannon. So there was no movement in the house between 10:12 a.m. and 2:22. So either there was, I mean, is it possible that Gannon was dead in the house while she was gone?
But who did we see get in the truck?
I don't know.
And somebody had mentioned earlier upstream in the chat, and I'm sorry that I can't credit you or say your name because it's too far for me to scroll up, but somebody had mentioned that there was no activity in the house, like you just said, Amy, so the dogs wouldn't be in the house.
Right.
But I want to clarify this. I have an alarm system. My alarm system is set so that it does not pick up my dog's activity, because if it did, it would set my alarm off all the time. And
Right.
most alarm systems are set for that.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does. It does. Because, like, my big dog lives in our bedroom, and that's a separate alarm. It,
Mhm.
like, and he doesn't set it off. Of course, he doesn't move, but yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean that? So, wait, how does that? I don't want to go off on a big tangent, but just so, because I've never really thought about this. How does that work? Is that like of a certain height level? So, because your dog is,
Yes.
so could you crawl around and avoid it?
I
Could I get
guess.
down on my hands and knees and crawl around my house?
I guess. I mean, I have motion sensors in my house. And I forget how the alarm company described it to me, because I had said, like, I have dogs, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, my God, my dogs do like backflips. You guys have heard about these lives. They're
Right.
wild, right? I have my youngest husky, he jumps up on the back of my couch and like
Right.
will stand on the back of my couch. So I'm not sure how it works. That's a good thing that maybe we should look into.
Chris
Um,
is gonna kill me tomorrow. I'm gonna be like, everybody just face
crawl
down.
around on the floor. Okay, so the motion sensors are just turned down on calibration. That makes sense, Libra scales. Okay.
Okay. So let's see. 34. Letitia's historical cell site information, detailed information about her iPhone status, and a text message sent to Harley from Gannon's cell phone support that Letitia left her cell phone at the Stauch residence the morning of January 27th, 2020. The fact Letitia left her phone at home is suspicious on its own, based on her history of extensive use of the phone. So basically, they're just saying this woman is always on her phone, always has it with her, and just so happens this one day she doesn't have it with her. And we talked about this before too. Most people within reason, like, you don't get that far from your home before you realize you don't have your phone, and you turn around and you get it.
See, and I think that's where this deliberation comes in, because she has so many actions that show that she was very calculated in what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Who would get, and they have newer vehicles, so that means that their phones would sync to their cars and
To
everything.
their Bluetooth, yeah.
Right. So, I mean,
So you know
I've
immediately.
I've gotten 10 minutes down the street and I've had a child in my car with me who had their own phone, and I still turned around to get
Of
my phone.
course.
Because if
Yeah.
there's an emergency, um, my grandmother's not gonna call my 11-year-old's phone. My mom's not gonna call my 11-year-old's phone for an emergency.
Right.
Their father's not gonna call my 11-year-old or my 16-year-old's phone for
Right.
an emergency. They're gonna call me, not a child. So it just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. I know I get into my car sometimes and I'm a little discombobulated. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have my phone? And I don't dig through my purse anymore. I wait and look to see if it's connecting to my Bluetooth. And I'm like,
Right,
okay, it's in here somewhere.
right.
Good to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just weird. You almost get like this anxiety about not having it. And even like I will say, my mother is older, but she's young at heart, but even she has a vehicle that has the Bluetooth in her cell phone, and like she wouldn't leave without it.
Right.
So for Letitia to be, in her 30s and all over Facebook and everything else, texting people left and right, there's no way that was deliberate.
Right. Right. It's crazy.
Maybe
I think this is probably gonna be one of the crazier cases that any of us that have followed true crime have ever seen. Like
yeah.
Doodlebug said, it's a disturbing rabbit hole that she
Yeah. Number 35, like when you really, really read this, I've reviewed forensic search records from Letitia's phone and found she is an active user of social media, including but not limited to Facebook and Instagram. A more detailed review of Letitia's iPhone screen time log between January 25th, 2020 at 8 a.m. and January 29th, 2020 at 11 a.m. revealed that Letitia spent approximately 38,607 seconds on Facebook and Facebook Messenger alone, which equates to approximately 10.7 hours of cumulative time over those few days. So, over like a 3-day period, 25, yeah, she's spending, yeah,
an
you don't need,
average over 3 hours a day on
yeah. Which
and
to most
that's
of us that are stuck at home now, we're like, that's nothing. but
right. Right.
but when you're working and you have kids and everything else, and you're not in the state of the world that we are now, that's a lot of time. And for somebody to be that disconnected for that amount of time.
Absolutely. Somebody asked about the drone footage. Actually, if you go into our Facebook group, there is a topic at the top for drone footage, and it's got a link to every drone footage that was done. Thank you, Angie. And I think it may also be part of our community tab. We might have some of it there.
I
But
think so.
I do know it's in the Facebook group under the topic drone footage, and it should take you to every drone video that was done. So
Okay. True Helper says most alarm systems do have built-in thermal imaging that sense the size of the moving body, and that's why they can't be triggered by accident from our pets. I think Chris would kill me for saying this on the internet, but I don't think ours is that sophisticated. I don't know though. Maybe it is.
yeah. I don't know. Okay, what number are we on? 36?
36. You want me to do it or?
Sure.
Okay. Let's see. Letitia's telephone was locked at or about 9:56 on January 27th, 2020, and unlocked at 2:45 on the same day. The timing of the unlocking of the device is significant as compared to her departure and arrival to and from the residence, and should be noted by the court. Particularly, Letitia did not open her phone for approximately 30 minutes after she arrived back at the residence. Yeah, that's crazy. She'd be jonesing for that phone
Mm-hmm.
if she didn't leave it on purpose. And then it goes on to say on January 27th, 2020, there was messages sent from Gannon's phone to Harley's phone that reads, Tisha left phone at home. If you need her, text me. This message was sent at or about 10:37 a.m. Does the phrasing of that strike you as odd?
Um, so Letitia's telephone was locked at about 9:56 hours. So she locked her phone right before she left, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And unlocked at 14:45. So 2:45 of the same day. She
Mm-hmm.
arrived home at 2:19.
Right.
2:45. That's a 26-minute window that she didn't touch her phone. The timing on the timing of the unlocking of the device is significant as compared to her departure and arrival to and from the residence and should be noted by the court.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, Letitia did not open her phone for approximately 30 minutes after she arrived back to the residence. Yeah, I don't think it seems odd to me. I think that's when she got busy inside that house.
Yeah. I was kind of asking like the way the text that went from Gannon's phone to Harley, Tisha
Mhm.
left phone at home. If you need her, text me. I just don't see an 11-year-old typing like that. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't see an 11-year-old typing like that either. There's another interesting part about Gannon's phone that's coming up as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I would think, I mean, honestly, I would think it would be like your mom said she left phone at home, call my phone or something. You know what I mean?
right.
Like something like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
weird.
odd. I think she had control of Gannon's phone. I think his phone
Yeah.
was taken away by her, and Al didn't know that. Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot to wrap your head around here.
It's interesting that they confirmed the Petco story in here, and that was something that we'd always been like, is it true? Is it not true?
Mhm.
And why
Mhm.
was she doing that?
To put herself on camera.
Yeah. But why? She doesn't have Gannon on camera.
I don't
And
know.
yeah, to Sherney, you're right. If he'd had his phone, he would have texted his mom. I think she took his phone away on Sunday night, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think when that whole candle thing was going on and all that, she took his phone away so he couldn't tell anybody what was going on in that house.
Right. So investigators were able to confirm based on video surveillance footage and purchase receipts that Letitia traveled to Petco located at 5020 North Nevada Avenue, Colorado Springs, Colorado. This Petco is approximately 22 miles from the residence and is an approximate 30-minute drive based on Google Map directions. The receipt, oh my gosh, you guys, I can't talk.
I'm doing the same thing, hon.
The receipt shows that Letitia completed her purchase at or about 11:22 a.m. Gannon is not visible on any of the surveillance footage obtained at Petco. Her whereabouts is then unknown between 11:22 a.m. and 1:22 p.m. At 1:22 p.m., Letitia was again captured on video surveillance making a second purchase at the same Petco on North Nevada Avenue. Mr. Stauch sent a text message to Gannon's cell phone at about 12:06 p.m. that read, "Hey buddy." This message was unanswered until 13:21, which is a minute before Letitia is seen on surveillance going into Petco. The response was, "Can I play Zelda at least?" Mr. Stauch replied, "Not today." Wasn't there something said that Tisha returned to Petco because she left her phone there?
Some people had said that maybe what she did was she left her phone in the Petco to make it look like she was there the whole time.
Right.
Yeah, but that
Right.
doesn't jive now.
Right. It doesn't jive, but why? So so Al gets a reply from Gannon's phone at 1:21 p.m. asking Gannon, it's supposedly Gannon asking, "Can I play Zelda at least?"
Mm-hmm.
But Tisha is seen on camera at 1:22
Two.
p.m. inside Petco. Something's not right there. I think she had his phone. I'll be curious to know if that surveillance footage, even if they find parking lot footage or something, shows her texting on a phone.
Right. She could have done it right before she walked in the store. Yeah.
Right.
And then that would, yeah, definitely.
Right.
So here's something interesting too. They're not talking about the locations of Gannon's phones in here.
Mhm. Yeah, they're not. It goes on to say a significant event occurred on Gannon's phone at or about 1:43 p.m., which is prior to arriving back at the Stauch residence. There was an internet search for, "Can my parent find my cell phone if it's off?" I submit that this internet search was likely conducted by Letitia on Gannon's phone and not Gannon himself, based upon the content of the search, the way the search terms are phrased, and the presence of asterisks. I'm sorry, quotations, and the presence of quotations in between phone and if. This is very similar to the way Letitia conducted searches on her phone.
It's a period. It's
Is
a,
it a period?
yeah, because I did that same thing and I was reading it. When you read it again, it's
Oh,
a,
okay.
yeah.
So she searched. Okay.
You get like
Oh,
confusing
yeah.
punctuation.
She okay. She searched. Can my parents find my cell phone? Period.
Period.
If it's off.
Off. I only picked up on that because I have a bad habit. I don't know why I do it on my cell phone, but I do that too.
I do it
But
too. I do it on accident.
yeah, it's like it's just a weird. And I'll look up and I'll be like, "Why is it like that?" Oh well, I got my results anyway. Who cares?
Right. Right.
But it's kind of like your little search engine personality, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
identifying marks.
Right. Okay. Then it goes on to say, however, I located an other internet searches with a period in Gannon's search history, which I also reasonably believe were conducted by Letitia. A more detailed explanation of Letitia's search history is included below in paragraph 41. And you can, if you want to go ahead with the next part, I don't know which one you want to jump to, because some of these.
They talk about. Well, I think we do have to read 41 at least.
Okay.
It says, furthermore, the search term was parent, singular. I submit it is reasonable that Mr. Stauch only, not Letitia, would be interested in the location of Gannon's phone, and that Letitia was probably deliberating on how or if she would dispose of Gannon's phone after she murdered him. So this is like deliberation, which we've seen that word before. Um, Again, they talk about in 42 the period of, you know, how she uses that. And then Gannon's phone was found at the residence. I submit that Letitia did not get rid of Gannon's phone for fear it might be traceable. So it was intentionally left at home so they wouldn't be able to locate him. Right?
Right. Right.
So let's see. 43. The Nissan Frontier, which belonged to Al, returned to the Stauch residence at or about 2:20. A search warrant authorized by this court was executed on the Nissan Frontier and found no indications of blood inside the vehicle. So are we still talking what there's no date reference there. So is that they are talking about the 27th there, right?
They are. They
Okay.
are. And that means that Gannon wasn't bleeding inside of that vehicle, right?
Right.
During that 4 hours that they were gone.
Right.
So what happened? What happened after they got home and she gets him in the house?
I don't know.
I mean, what level of evil are you?
He had to all I can think of is he had to be ready to tell his mom and dad something. He was deprived of his phone. I didn't realize, I feel kind of dumb, but I didn't realize originally when we were talking about this, just so I'm being transparent, that Al's training was what, the 25th through the 28th. And so he would have returned the 28th anyway. Am I being correct in saying that?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. So I had originally thought he was brought back, earlier. Now it's making more sense because her time is closing in on her. Dad's going to be back.
Right.
So she's got to either deal with this is just my speculation, but she's either got to deal with like perhaps what Gannon's going to say or report or tell, or what his body is going to say or report and
Oh,
tell.
wait a second. Rebecca Carr saying he was supposed to be gone for 2 weeks. Okay. That
He
makes
was.
sense because
Okay.
I know that he returned on the 28th because
Okay. Okay.
of
I got
Gannon missing.
confused today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So then I was right originally, and then I just got confused when I read this. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. All right. So let's see. So yeah, as I don't, she wasn't going to be whatever. Okay. So let's think about it this way. Whatever was going on, if Al was going to be gone that long, there was no way she was going to keep him from talking to Al or texting Al. And Landon had a good track record of keeping up digital communication and phone calls too.
Mhm.
Right. So
Yeah.
whatever was going on, she wasn't going to be able to curb that for very long without people getting suspicious. And obviously, the night of the 27th, right? Al got suspicious because he called a
Right.
neighbor.
Right. Right.
So,
Oh boy. So much to take in, you guys.
yeah, 44 is redundant.
Okay.
Right?
So yeah, we can go past that one. Let's see. 45, Lena returned home from school around 3:15 p.m. During a recorded forensic interview with investigators, Lena stated that when she returned home, Letitia told her Gannon was asleep in her bed and that she could not see him. Letitia told Lena to go outside and play. I submit that Lena was sent outside because Gannon was likely dead and Letitia was cleaning up blood from inside the house.
Mm-hmm.
At or about, I gotta do some math here real quick. 3:55 p.m. 3:55 p.m. Mr. Stauch sent another message to Gannon's phone. Hey, buddy. This message was not read until 7:40 p.m. It is likely that Gannon was already murdered by Letitia at the time Mr. Stauch sent the message. Based on the exterior video footage, Harley arrived at the a residence in her white VW Jetta at or about 4:42 p.m. and picked up Lena. At or about 4:52 p.m. on January 27th, 2020, Letitia sent a text message to Harley requesting carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda. These items were likely used to clean up the murder scene. Harley purchased these items, and investigators located a receipt documenting the purchase. Harley Hunt has refused to speak with investigators. Now, keep in mind, this was up until they made the arrest. So this was up until February 28th because This arrest affidavit was filed on February 28th. So up until February 28th, Harley had refused to speak with investigators. We don't know what has happened since her mother was arrested on March 2nd up to this point. We don't know if she's spoken
Right.
to investigators since then.
The other thing that maybe we should talk about is I've heard some people online chattering about how Harley is talking to them now because she's on the witness list. And, just to be clear, you are subpoenaed as a witness. That doesn't mean
Right.
that you voluntarily decided to talk.
Right.
They can compel. They call it compelling. So they can compel her to talk by means of subpoena, and then she's added to the witness list.
Right. Right. Investigators do not believe that Harley was present when Gannon was killed. Harley was at work on January 27th, 2020 from 8:30 p.m. I'm sorry, 8:30 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. and investigators were able to verify this with her employer. To be clear, investigators have not located any evidence that any person other than Lena and Letitia had access to Gannon between approximately 10 a.m. Yeah, 10. Well, I was confused on how Lena, but
I
they're
know.
they're grouping Lena in when
Yeah.
she was in school. Okay. Approximately 10 a.m. and
5:34.
yeah, 5:34 p.m. on January 27th, 2020. If you want to go on to the next part, you can.
Sure. Let's see. Um, so this is the subheading is statements and images captured on body camera on January 27th, 2020. Your affiant has reviewed body-worn camera BWC footage and reports obtained from a deputy that responded to 6627 Mandan Drive, the residence of the Stauch family. After responding, Letitia provided verbal consent for deputies to search the house for Gannon. By the way of timeline, EPSO patrol responded at or about 2209, which is 10:09 p.m., approximately 3 hours after Letitia initially called 911. From the BWC, the body cam, I learned the Volkswagen Tiguan, known to be leased and utilized by Letitia, was backed into the garage where EPSO was at the residence. The position of the Tiguan in the garage is significant, specifically because of the confirmed presence of Gannon's blood in the garage below the area where the rear hatch of the Tiguan would be, and the positive reaction of Blue Star. Is that reagent? Is that how you say that? It's
Hold
aluminum.
on. Hold on one second.
Sure. Anyway, Blue Star is like a form of luminol. So they put parentheses indicating likely presence of blood on the Tiguan's rear bumper. So
Yes, it's reagent. Sorry, I was.
reagent. Okay, I just didn't know. Um, and then they say responding deputies also searched in Gannon's basement bedroom, and I have viewed images of Gannon's bedroom taken from the body cam. Below, I've included a body cam image of Gannon's bedroom on the left. On the right, an image recovered from Letitia's cell phone after executing a search warrant that was applied for and granted by this court. These images both represent the condition of Gannon's bedroom on January 27th, 2020 at or about 8:13 a.m. and just after 10 p.m. So we can go back and talk about so basically when the cops got there, her Tiguan was in the garage backed up to the back door, right?
Yes.
Yep. And the Tiguan was covering a blood stain on the garage floor, and they're assuming that it was positioned there to not only cover that, but later they found through luminol testing blood on the rear bumper of the Tiguan, so she dragged him through the house and had him in that car. which is
Did I say this publicly, or did I say this in our group chat about how I wondered if Gannon was in that house when cops showed up? I think I might have said it in the group chat. And
yeah,
that makes me sick.
yeah,
Like, and I'm not blaming law enforcement in any way, shape, or form, because they had no reasonable cause to look inside her vehicle, backed inside the
you would have think that they would have though, because they, children do hide in cars.
right, right.
I mean, I'm not accusing anybody of being, neglectful, but it's just a little weird because she's driving the Nissan Frontier all day this day, right?
Right.
And then that
So
car,
why wouldn't they have checked cars?
yeah, that's what I don't understand.
I mean, you see these different instances all over where children go missing, okay? And you'll see public announcements going out to the communities that the children are missing and asking the members of the community to please check their vehicles, check their trunks, check their sheds,
Yeah,
all of that. So it is confusing that they didn't look in the vehicles. Why?
yeah. This is. I mean, I have all kinds of notes
He
written.
was 11. 11.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Well, Rachel, I do believe he was in this suitcase already, but had law enforcement, and I'm not trying to place any blame. I'm just really confused about why they didn't check her vehicle. If they had opened that back hatch of her SUV, they would have seen presumably a suitcase there.
mm-hmm.
Children Gannon wasn't a big child. He was tiny. Um Children hide in places. I mean, I could tell you a story about how when I was a kid, I can remember being at a birthday party and we were playing hide and seek, and I decided to hide in the dryer.
Yeah,
And I got locked in there. I was freaking out.
yeah.
So it is very confusing as to why they didn't look in vehicles. And if they did, I don't think they did, because they only speak about doing a walkthrough, a limited walkthrough, searching the house. If just say they did look in her vehicle, why wouldn't they look in that suitcase?
Well, and there's also, it's another side of the story is that there nowhere in here does it say, because remember, this is a voluntary search. They make it a point that Letitia let them in the home to search. They didn't need a search warrant. They they went in the home to search, right?
Right.
She didn't refuse them access to the vehicle, as I mean, at least it's not written here. So what wouldn't that be one of the places they looked? Because, and not to go back to Chris Watts, but I think we all know that scene where Nikki and her son are in the driveway. The cop is there. Chris comes home and they're all looking in the car window and he's getting something out of the car, and people look in cars. I grew up in a hot
Mhm.
climate. Like I remember getting in trouble for my sister and I playing in the car because, in warmer climates, it only takes like a very little amount of time to get locked in there and die.
Right. I don't know. That's just the question that haunts me, I guess.
That's a really
Um,
weird thing.
I don't. I mean, I think some people are theorizing that Gannon was possibly in the house in the suitcase. That very well could be. I personally don't think that. I think that he was in the back of her vehicle, because if you notice, her vehicle was not in the garage when she pulled up that day. Her
No.
vehicle was in the driveway. So
Yeah.
at some point, she backed her car into the garage after we saw that surveillance footage.
So where's that video?
Yeah, I'm sure they have that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm sure we'll see it at some point too. But at some point, she backed her SUV into the garage. And by the time cops got there, it took them 3 hours to get there, but by the time they got there, um, her vehicle was in the garage. So I don't know. And I also wonder if, she knew that she very well could have known by reporting Gannon as a runaway that doesn't take precedence. That's why that petition was going around for Gannon's law.
Right.
If you report a child as a runaway, that doesn't take precedence with the police responding because that's like a voluntary missing. If you
Right.
report a child as missing, you don't know where this child is, they get there a lot faster, and I'm sure she used that to her advantage as
To
well.
buy her some time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I read 53. Basically, they're going to talk about the comparisons between his bedroom, let's see, um, the body cam photo taken at 10 p.m. at night, as opposed to the picture that Letitia had taken of the bed around 8 a.m. or around
Mhm.
8:13.
Mhm.
So they say this photo comparison is significant for many reasons. And the corner of the bedroom where Gannon's head is visible is the key area discussed in several sections below. See right image below, taken at 8:30 a.m. So A is the placement of Gannon's bed is in the immediate location where the blood, based on DNA profile results, was found on the wall, the carpet, and on the concrete below the carpet. These details are discussed below, and a large volume of blood appears to have been in that area. Item B. For the purposes of comparison between the two images, it appears that although the sheet may or may not be the same, the blankets are different, and the pillowcase, if not the whole pillow, is different. I submit that a logical explanation for the missing bedding is that they likely were saturated in blood after Gannon's murder and why am I tripping over my words? And were removed by Letitia to clean up the murder scene. Furthermore, investigators were unable to locate the bedding in the Stauch residence during any of approximately 5 searches of the residence. He bled out in his bed.
Mhm.
How did she think she was going to get away with that when there was blood on it? I get, okay. She didn't know it went to the subfloor. She didn't know about the outlet. She was wiping off like what seems to be textured walls, I would think,
Yes.
by the description. And so she was screwed to begin with. But um, how are you going to explain a large pool of blood on the mattress?
Yeah, was she just well,
I mean, but
I wonder if she was gonna explain that away by nosebleeds
the
because
nosebleeds,
it
yeah,
has been stated many times, to me that
the blood.
Gannon
Oh,
Gannon
yeah,
did get significant nosebleeds, so I'm wondering if she thought in her own head that, "Well, I can explain away that blood stain and say that Gannon had a nosebleed." Because
right.
I guess, Gannon was known to have nosebleeds that were very significant, like gushing blood significant.
There was a either a text or a post or something. I could go hunt it up, but she talks about, oh, they were so bad it would be those kids would be walking around the house with it rolling down their arm, and yeah. So
Right,
yeah, that's probably what she was thinking. But I mean, it's odd that she took that picture for no reason at 8, whatever time it was, 8:13 in the morning, and then the body camera captured the bed at 10, and they're saying the sheets might be the same, but the blankets, probably the pillow and everything else are different. That
right,
was a big mistake on her part.
right,
Especially because she couldn't even say like, oh, he had an accident, or some of the normal things that like maybe a parent would say, because they can't locate the other linens.
right. Yeah,
So
well, not being able to locate the linens is very strange within itself because I mean, things happen when you have kids. They have accidents.
right,
If you have a child that has nosebleeds, you wash the bedding and you put it back.
or you soak it in the laundry sink for or what, whatever it is, but it's in your house.
Becca, I did have a family member tell me that when Gannon got nosebleeds, I mean, like he would soak towels. So, are you there, Amy? Okay, hold on. I gotta re-add her, I think. Hold on one second, guys. All right, Amy, I'll drop you a new link. Anyways, I was told that Gannon had significant nosebleeds, so I could see where, and I'm not saying it's justifiable at all, but I can see where Letitia thought that she could blame the blood on the mattress on a nosebleed. So, yeah, they were significant nosebleeds, like couldn't get them to stop types of nosebleeds. Um, Hey, Irish Eyes. All right. I don't know where Amy went, but I just dropped her. There she is. All right. She's back. Let's get her back on here. Oops.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. No problem.
I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I was just gone.
Yeah, StreamYard's having a lot of problems. I was warned before this that there's a lot of technical difficulties because of everybody. StreamYard actually gave me that prompt that everybody's home, so they're struggling right now. So anyways, we were, the nosebleeds. I just wonder if that's how she was going to justify the blood on the mattress.
Most likely, yes.
Yes.
Most likely. So then they have the two photos side by side. They're obviously when you print them out, you can't see anything. You can enhance them on your phone or on your computer or whatever. But let's see. 55 says another photo was recovered from Letitia's cell phone that shows his bed was not pushed directly against the wall by the head of the bed. This photo articulates the ability for blood to get onto the walls and floor in the corner of the bedroom. Mr. Stauch stated that the positioning of the bed is unusual and the bed is usually pushed against the wall. So was the bed pulled out before or was the bed pulled away for cleaning?
I don't know.
Because that reads weird, right?
It does read weird. But I also think that if somebody is killed with force, blood is still going to get on the walls.
Yeah.
You can see the one picture of the wall where they have all the markers. There was 50 droplets of blood that they found, and it wasn't lower. They were higher. And if, say, for example, I'm just going to have to say it and just have no filter on it. Sorry, guys, if this is too hard to hear, but in the act of killing him, if he moved closer to the wall, that would explain how blood would have ran down the bed to the floor. Because you still have a gap there. Right. Yeah. I believe that it was pulled away afterwards. When she cleaned and she didn't just push it all the way up against the wall. Right. I don't know. So 56, Mr. Stauch spent the night in Denver on January 25th, 2020, and flew out of Denver International Airport on January 26th, 2020. Investigators were able to corroborate that he traveled to Dallas, Texas, and ultimately to Oklahoma based off of his flight records. On the morning of January 28th, 2020, Letitia rented a 2019 Kia Rio from Avis Rent-A-Car in Colorado Springs. Letitia picked Mr. Stauch up at the Colorado Springs Airport at or about 8:50 a.m. on January 28th, 2020, shortly after Letitia rented the vehicle. Letitia and Mr. Stauch drove back to their residence from the airport in the rented Kia. The timing of the rental of the Kia is suspicious and combined with forensic evidence later obtained from the SUV and discussed below tends to place additional importance on why Letitia felt compelled to rent a vehicle that morning. Investigators located no evidence that Tisha's SUV was not mechanically functioning or noted any reason why it could not have been physically driven. In fact, the SUV remained parked in the Colorado Springs Airport short-term parking lot until approximately 7 p.m. on January 28th, 2020. Letitia provided statements to her husband, Albert Stauch, that she was concerned about putting mileage on her lease, which justified the vehicle rental. It is noted, however, that during the time of the Kia rental, Letitia only put about 71 miles on the vehicle. During the time period Letitia had the Kia, she would not provide the location of her SUV, and Mr. Stauch never saw her vehicle. For example, she told Mr. Stauch that the SUV was near French Elementary School. Between investigators and Mr. Stauch, a limited search of the SUV was conducted and produced negative results. Investigators later learned she left the vehicle in the short-term parking lot of the Colorado Springs Airport, but removed the vehicle at or about January 28th, 2020 at 7 p.m. The Kia Rio was returned on the morning of January 29th, 2020. I submit that Letitia could not pick her husband up in the Volkswagen SUV because it likely would have revealed evidence of Gannon's murder, including blood or the actual remains of Gannon himself. So, hey, Tracy Walker, how are ya? That's disgusting.
Yeah.
She drove to the airport to pick up Al. She drove in her SUV with Al's little boy's dead body in the back of her SUV, parked her SUV, rented a car, and picked her husband up. That's absolutely disgusting.
And left Gannon there for 11 hours.
And left Gannon there. Yep.
And here's the thing too. Like, I wonder when Al's mind started ticking. Was it when he called the neighbor the night before? Was it when he got in town and his wife was picking him up at a rental car when she could have taken the Frontier?
Yeah, that's a good point. Why didn't she take the truck to pick him up?
Right, because she couldn't leave the Tiguan at home with Gannon's body in it. She had to have it somewhere else.
Yep. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, she's calculated.
She is. I need to step away for a second. Is that okay?
Of course. Go ahead.
I've got somebody pantomiming and I cannot stand that. But
that's okay.
I'd rather do that than mind school. So I'll be right back.
Okay. All right, guys, moving on to number 61. Investigators applied for and were granted by this court a search warrant for the 2019 Kia Rio rented by Letitia Stauch. The vehicle was located at the rental car company at the Colorado Springs Airport and had not been rented to another customer in between the time Letitia dropped the vehicle off and when investigators seized it. Investigators did take a swab from a stain that was confirmed to be blood in the trunk of the Kia Rio and submitted it to the Metro Crime Lab for analysis. The DNA profile was developed and determined it was a mixture of two contributors, one of which was male, and the major male profile did not match Gannon Stauch's DNA. That's the hard thing with rental cars, is because there's so many people in and out of them. That DNA could belong to anybody, literally anybody. Um, 63, I submit that because the Kia Rio is a rental car, it has likely been utilized by a large number of people, and the blood in the trunk may or may not be related to the investigation. And investigators have not been able to determine the likely age of that blood and have not matched it to any known DNA profiles associated with this case. Investigators noted that the Kia had a significant amount of mud underneath the vehicle, but this did not provide any successful investigative leads in looking for Gannon's remains. Investigators collected the air filter of the vehicle and attempted to identify particles that might be useful to identify where the vehicle may have been. Investigators were unable to recover any GPS data or location history for the Kia Rio. Letitia's Volkswagen Tiguan is significant. The Volkswagen Tiguan is important to investigators because they believe the Tiguan was used to transport the remains of Gannon from the Stauch residence to a location where Gannon's body was dumped. The definitive locations of the Tiguan are unknown to investigators during the time period of approximately 7:02 p.m. on January 28, 2020 to approximately noon on January 29th, 2020. So for 17 hours, her vehicle is not accounted for. Investigators believe Letitia dumped Gannon's remains on the evening of January 28, 2020, and utilized the Tiguan to do so. The Tiguan was seized from Letitia on January 29th, 2020. And this is where it gets really interesting.
You want me to take this one, or are you good?
Yeah, go ahead. Amy's back.
Sorry, I'm just lurking in the shadows.
You're fine. I have to walk away for a second anyways.
Okay.
My foot's asleep and I have to go check on a kid. I'll be right back.
No problem. All right. So let's see. Number 67. Letitia had scheduled an interview with investigators on January 29th, 2020 at the EPSO located in downtown Colorado Springs, Colorado. When she arrived on or about noon, she was driving the Volkswagen. The Tiguan. Investigators noted that the vehicle was wet and appeared to have been recently cleaned. I submit that Letitia had to clean the vehicle because there was likely visible blood on the rear end based on the below luminol reactions. Indeed, video footage was recovered that shows a partial view of a car wash located at Platt Avenue, Bonfoy Avenue in Colorado Springs. This video captured at a portion of a black SUV consistent with the VW Tiguan at or about 11:30 a.m. on January 29th at the car wash. The time and location are consistent with the raw data obtained from the Tiguan's computer system described in more detail below, beginning in paragraph 152. So, who runs their car through the car wash right before they're driving it to the police station for their interview? That's just, I don't know. Number 68. Investigators applied for and were granted a search warrant for the Tiguan, which was seized from Letitia at her interview and towed to the EPSO evidence facility. On or about February 1st, the FBI evidence response team conducted a search of the Volkswagen Tiguan. In summary, the forensic portion of the search revealed possible traces of blood on the rear of the vehicle, a rear passenger seat, front passenger seat, and an area near the glove box based on luminol forensic latent blood stain reagent tests. Swabs from the trunk area were sent to the Metro Crime Laboratory for further analysis. These results revealed that a DNA profile could not be developed and that the swab from the trunk was negative for the presumptive presence of blood. So that's interesting. To be clear, Luminol is a chemical used to detect trace amounts of blood at a crime scene. Although I do not have a chemical or a biology background, I have learned that luminol reacts with iron in blood, or in hemoglobin, found in blood. When applied, luminol emits a blue glow when a reaction occurs. I am also aware that there are things other than blood that could cause a reaction, such as other chemicals, and I do not submit that just because luminol reacted with a substance, that the substance must be blood, and only that there is a strong possibility of suspected blood. The positive reaction to luminol is meant to be combined with other facts in the affidavit to support the probable cause. So the swab from the trunk couldn't be matched with Gannon, but they did find traces of blood, or what appeared to be based on the luminol testing, back seat, front seat, and glove compartment. So what are you guys saying in the chat? So let's see. Glowing Ember, she was 2 hours late to the interview too. Yes, that is correct. She was supposed to be there at 10 a.m. and she showed up around noon. Let's see. Sparta says she put suitcase on top of board in her car. I don't think the suitcase was in trunk when cops were there that night. On top of board in her car. Clarify that for me, because I find that very interesting. She put suitcase on top of board in her car. And I don't think the suitcase was in the trunk when the cops were there that night. Okay. Let's see. What else are we saying in here? Bridget says, see, this is where I thought it was someone else's blood present. Well, let's see. They say these results revealed that a DNA profile could not be developed. So, it might have been blood, but they couldn't determine it was Gannon's blood or anybody else's blood at that time. Like any amount to be tested. What does True Helper say? Get it right, Amy. It's known as the affidavit. Am I saying it that way? It's affidavit. Silly. True Helper teasing me. Oh my goodness. Particle board. Okay, I see this. Okay, yes. One of the rental cars was rented by a relative, Tracy Walker. And that is, I can flip back and tell you. That is going to be, I believe it was a Nissan that was rented by Tisha's aunt, but Tisha was driving it around. And that is, okay, so under 13, under the following vehicles will be discussed at various points below. D, silver Nissan Altima, a rental car obtained by Letitia's aunt, Brenda, acquired and utilized by Letitia from January 30th to February 1st, after her Tiguan was seized by EPSO on January 29, 2020. So yes, you're correct, Tracy Walker. And I hear Danielle. Or a little mouse.
I'm back.
Yay, speak.
All right. Where are you at?
We're on 70. We just finished up talking about 79.
Okay.
So 70, several areas of the Tiguan reacted to luminol, as mentioned in paragraph 68. Specifically, the search team found evidence of suspected blood on the rear bumper and step plate of the rear bumper. The location of the blood is significant because this vehicle was backed into the garage at Letitia's residence the day Gannon's murder. The search of the residence is discussed below, but it is noted that evidence of Gannon's blood based on DNA profile was also located on the floor of the garage, consistent with where the rear end of the Tiguan would have been. So we kind of talked about that already, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, let's see. I guess it's important to talk about 71, even though we don't really have a visual. So 71, they're saying a photo is included below to demonstrate the reaction of the luminol reagent to the likely presence of blood. Particularly, the position of the reaction leads investigators to believe that blood was likely in contact with the rear bumper of the Tiguan and most reasonably while loading Gannon's remains in the trunk. Swabs from the exterior bumper have also been submitted to the Metro Crime Laboratory, but those results have not yet been returned. However, the Metro Crime Laboratory did return a result from the trunk of the Tiguan that was negative for the presumptive presence of blood. So I guess at the time of this affidavit, they hadn't received those external results.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm sure they have them now, but so within her car, a receipt from dollar store was located. Oh no. Yeah, okay. Within the Tiguan, a receipt from a dollar store was located, timestamped January 27th at 5:14, and documented the purchase of trash bags, baking soda, vinegar, the items listed in paragraph 74.
Did you notice what I noticed on this? Is that when Tisha texted Harley and she told her to get carpet powder, 2 things of it, trash bags, and baking soda, she never told Harley to buy vinegar.
I didn't notice that.
So why did Harley buy vinegar? Because as far as we know in the text messages, her mother didn't tell her to buy vinegar.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
wait. You're right. Oh my! I mean, I don't ever doubt you, but I just carpet cleaner, trash bags, and baking soda, and she bought trash bags, baking soda, and vinegar, but not the carpet cleaner.
Yeah.
Hmm. Carpet powder, 2 things: baking soda, trash bags. Also included in this purchase was baby oil, baby lotion, cotton rounds, and bubble gum. So it's just so gross that the bubble gum
Why
was probably for Lena and they were buying it with things to clean up her brother's dead body.
um Menfield Gal, maybe she did call her, but that's not listed here. It's not listed
Right.
here that there was a phone call from Tisha's phone to Harley's phone. Um, I don't
Wouldn't
know.
that have been the smarter thing to do? If you're
Well,
sending your kid out to buy stuff.
but Sparta, why wouldn't they have included that text in this information?
Right.
Because they go on to talk about how vinegar and baking soda is a known
It's a first
mixture.
grade
It's
science
an
project.
it's a known mixture to remove blood.
Right.
Yeah, that is interesting, Kelly girl. We'll get that. We'll get to that. That Al knew
Knew how
how much
much vinegar.
yeah, that is interesting that he knew that. Um I don't know. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of unknowns and questions they have that we have, I think. So,
So let's see. Um, we went over 74.
mhm.
And then go ahead.
I'll go on with 75 if you
Okay.
want.
Sure.
75, I know from personal experience that baking soda and vinegar are common household items that can be used to clean blood. Additionally, I conducted open source internet searches that revealed vinegar is one of the most common items used to clean bloodstains, and that when baking soda is applied to bloodstains prior to vinegar, it has an efficient effect in removing bloodstains. While the purchase of items such as vinegar and baking soda are common and in no sense illegal on their own, the timing of the purchase of these items and Gannon's suspected murder are beyond coincidental. Also located was a parking receipt for the Colorado Springs Airport that documented the Tiguan was brought into the airport short-term parking lot at or about 8:30 a.m. and left the lot at or about 7:02 p.m., both on January 28th, 2020. So she brought that Tiguan into the airport to pick Al up, but first she dropped it off and got a rental car first.
Mm-hmm.
Then she came back and she picked her Tiguan back up. On January 29th, 2020, Letitia returned the rented Kia at approximately 9 a.m., and she was picked up by someone driving the white Jetta. Investigators were unable to confirm that Harley was driving the Jetta, but it is her primary vehicle, and her historical cell site location from her cellular telephone records support her phone was in that area. As such, I believe Harley was likely driving the Jetta. Investigators were able to download telematics and store electronic data from the Tiguan. A more in-depth exploitation of the Tiguan's electronic systems, more specifically its historical locations, were developed and will be discussed below in more detail beginning in paragraph 152. Investigators were able to determine some of the locations of the Tiguan on the evening of January 28th, 2020, including its location in the area of Highway 105 and South Perry Park Road in Douglas County, Colorado. Investigators also served a search warrant to AT&T related to an international mobile subscriber identity (IMSI) designated to the Tiguan's CarNet feature. AT&T responded to the search warrant and provided network event location systems (NELOS) data that would give an estimated location of the Tiguan. The data revealed that during the evening of January 28th, 2020, between 10:30 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. and 10:20 p.m., the Tiguan was generally in the greater northwest portion of Colorado Springs and likely also in an area north of the Air Force Academy in southern Douglas County. I submit that during this time period, investigators believe that Letitia disposed of Gannon's remains. Of note, during the time period of approximately 8:30 p.m. and 10:20 p.m. on January 28th, 2020, Harley's cell phone is connected to a tower that would service the Stauch's residence over approximately 30 miles from Letitia's suspected location. There was activity on Harley's telephone during that time, and investigators do not believe that Harley was with Letitia when she disposed of the body. However, at approximately 10:26 p.m., Harley's cell phone leaves the Stauch residence and goes to the area of Powers and Carefree, where the investigations suspect she picked Letitia up.
So I'm confused by this. Are you? Or do you have a clear understanding of
It seems pretty clear to me. It looks like Letitia drove her vehicle out to the area that we all saw them searching for a
right?
week. She
But why
drove
did
out there and she was out there for a couple hours.
but
And
why is
then
Harley picking her up?
because she was still hiding the SUV from
She was still
Al.
hiding the Tiguan. Okay.
That's
All
what I
right.
think.
Okay.
I don't know if that's
That's
fact, but that's what
okay.
I
That's
think.
that's what I've been trying to figure out. And then the
But
second
you
thing
have
is
to wonder, why wasn't Harley I have no problem asking this question. Why wasn't Harley saying something?
right. Like, why am I picking up my mom? And
Right.
unless like it's so maybe let's just fill in the blanks with like something that might make sense. Maybe when Harley goes and picks mom up, There is no Tiguan in sight. And Tisha said something like, the car broke down. I knew this was going to happen. I had it towed. Can you come get me?
Right.
Something like that. But
She could have been lying.
yeah. But here's my other question. Their kid is missing, runaway, and she's off running around without her husband.
Right.
That's just weird. At like 10:30 at night,
Right.
and then your teenage stepdaughter is like leaving the house on her own.
Right.
At
It's
night. When you call your
yeah.
husband to come pick you up, not your stepdaughter. If you're
You'd think.
making up a story.
You'd think. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd think. I mean, I believe Al had to be suspicious. He had to
Yeah.
be.
I think he was
Um,
from the night before he got home
right.
is when it started.
Hey, Shannon.
Shannon had a birthday yesterday.
Yes. Happy birthday, Shannon.
Yay.
You think
Yeah.
that night he was at the police department? That's possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Working on my games. You think Harley became paralyzed with thoughts and fear? That's very possible. She's still a very young adult. I know she will be a legal adult next month, but that's still, 17, 18 years old. You're still very, very
Yeah. You can be, well, especially if you have a controlling parent and things like that. It just depends. But
right. Right.
going in
Um,
there, if T had a public defender, how could Harley afford an attorney? Well, Harley could be appointed an attorney as well.
yeah. She could. It's also possible that her family is rallying around Harley because there's multiple things listed within this affidavit that states that Tisha was untruthful to her family.
Mm-hmm.
So, her family may be, rallying behind her. I don't know. I don't know what I'm convinced of yet, and I'll just say this, I'm not comfortable crossing that line until next month.
Right.
Is my
Right.
thought.
No, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Um, I you know,
Yeah, let's just leave it at that, maybe. I
yeah.
will say this. I mean, this gave us a lot of information, but there's still a lot of stuff we don't know that's missing. And
Yeah, and in the same respect, I can't imagine how Harley feels, So when Tisha sent Harley to the store for those things, Gannon wasn't missing yet.
right,
Gannon was supposed to be at a friend's house.
right,
Um,
he was out playing.
right.
Yeah.
So when Harley went to the store, she had to be unsuspecting at that time. I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot to ponder over. I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
discuss this at length at another time when we can put some thoughts together and connect some dots and stuff like that. But even in this affidavit, investigators have said they don't believe that Harley was physically involved in Gannon's
Right.
murder.
So there's
It almost sounds like Tisha was using her daughter as her scapegoat,
Mhm.
her cab, her Uber driver, her errand runner.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I want to address two things. Going Amber says, but she would need to be convicted of something to be assigned one, right? Not necessarily because she's a minor. She's
right.
probably got a guardian ad litem and they have services for they protect minors in these cases.
Well, and any of us can retain a lawyer at any time.
No, they were saying a court-appointed attorney.
Oh, a court appointed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, wait, let's see. And then Tisha Renee says, but she told Lena Gannon was sleeping. So, yeah, Lena came home from school. She said, you can't see Gannon because he's in her bed, which was weird. Did you read that? Because he's in her bed.
Yeah.
What, I don't know what bed she was talking about. But anyway, like Lena's bed or whose. But then she tells, Harley may or may not have been under the impression that he was out playing.
Right.
And somewhere Tisha is suggesting or instructing Harley to take Lena with her to the Dollar Tree.
Right.
Or the dollar store, whatever it is.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's a lot more that we're going to learn. We're going to learn a lot more. So.
Is this a.
What?
I'm just thinking out loud. I'm sorry. So I got to remember when it comes out of my mouth, you can hear me. When it's in my head, you can't. Sometimes I get confused. I was talking to myself.
Oh, okay. So.
Yeah, Sparta, I see what you're saying there, and I tend to agree. And that having the accident might have been a final release, trying to be respectful, but
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so as mentioned above, Letitia voluntarily came to EPSO for an interview with investigators, but only after she was evasive and avoided speaking with investigators one-on-one. Her interview was audio and video recorded, and the below information includes her own statements as well as investigation geared towards corroborating those statements. In general, her statements are reasonably categorized as untruthful, incomplete, and misleading. Letitia was supposed to arrive at 10 a.m. on January 29th, 2020, but did not arrive until noon. Although she spoke with investigators on the phone several times, she did not want investigators coming to her home and was difficult at best to track down. Investigators provided food and water to Letitia during the interview. Of interest, Letitia brought several pieces of notebook paper with her that contained notes she had written down. I'm sorry, that's just fucking ridiculous.
Ooh, you just dropped the first F-bomb.
That is ridiculous. I mean, even a criminal, a stupid criminal wouldn't go into an interrogation room with notes.
Note cards.
Gosh.
Note cards. Yeah, but it gets better.
It gets way better.
It gets way better.
During the interview, I can't even with this. She referred to these pieces of paper and asked investigators if she could just read her notes.
Wait, I have my answer here. Hold on. It's on the pink index card. Gosh.
Oh. Investigators were not able to seize these documents. I have conducted. Sorry, guys. It's just
Ludicrous.
It's absolutely ludicrous. It's a freak show. There's an F-bomb for you. She's a freak show. I have conducted hundreds of interviews of subjects, victims, and witnesses. It is extremely rare for an individual to bring notes to an interview. You think? Oh my gosh. Good Lord, where did this woman come from? Oh. Letitia drastically departed from her initial statements given to EPSO deputies regarding the report of Gannon's disappearance. In summary, Letitia said that she had been held at gunpoint and raped by a Hispanic male she knew as Eduardo, and that Gannon was abducted by the male after he finished raping her. The interviewing detectives believed her statements were false based on prior experience investigating sexual assault cases. Letitia said she arrived home around 2:30 p.m. on January 27th, 2020, and she disarmed her security system, and then she went into the basement. She said that Eduardo was in the basement and pointed a gun at her. After Eduardo held her at gunpoint, he allowed her to go upstairs to greet her stepdaughter, Lena Stauch, who had just arrived home from school. Letitia said she sent her outside to ride her bike, then returned to the basement where Eduardo vaginally penetrated her against her will between 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. During this period, she believed that she had hit her head and may have blacked out. Investigators noted no injuries on Letitia's head during their contact with her.
Hold up. I'm sorry. He allowed her to greet Lena.
Right.
Just got home from school. And
Right.
Letitia had to go upstairs and send her outside to ride her bike. And then she went back to the basement.
Yep. Yep.
I'm sorry. What the WTAF?
And then he raped her for an hour.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I'm at my door. I can scream. I can send my daughter out for help. But I don't do that. I'm just like, oh,
Right.
well, the raping will commence now. Like, I mean, I'm sorry. It's just,
I know. It's ridiculous.
It's Eduardo.
Oh, yeah, and helped her get her bike out of the garage, Rebecca Carson.
Sorry. It's not funny.
The stuff that she says is an absolute joke.
I might have to mute myself on the next paragraph, and then I'll take a turn if you want. But I just
oh yeah, you're okay. I'll read this one.
It's just
boy.
I'm gonna try to be mature.
No, you're fine. We're gonna be us. We can laugh because this woman is.
True Helper says, I'm surprised T didn't start stuffing her cheeks with the tissues as if they were taking her. And not the ones on her face. Nasty ass blowfish she is. If somebody grabbed True Helper's phone.
Oh, True Helper, I love you. You're hilarious. Okay. Letitia, I'm going to try to say this. Letitia also said that during the attack, Gannon jumped on Eduardo's back and that Eduardo was able to throw Gannon off his back and across the room. After Eduardo had finished, he had the gun held to Gannon and demanded a suitcase. Letitia provided him with a brown suitcase and a cardboard box. Eduardo attempted to sexually assault her again, but she hit her head and blacked out again. This bitch blacks out more than anybody I've ever seen.
Wait. Why was she so extra generous with the cardboard box?
I don't know. That's going to come into play somewhere. Yeah. Where is that cardboard box at, T?
Yeah. Why are we mentioning a cardboard box? Because we're mentioning the suitcase.
Right. Letitia stated that she tried to fight Eduardo off, but was unsuccessful. I know from training and experience that if an individual holds another person at gunpoint, he or she would likely not allow the person to have the opportunity for escape. As Letitia described, being allowed to greet her stepdaughter upstairs before returning to the basement. So not only did she say that she greeted Lena upstairs, She walked back downstairs for some more.
Yeah, voluntarily.
Instead of running out the door, hitting the panic button on the alarm. Every
Yeah.
alarm has a panic button.
Telling Lena to run as fast as you can and tell a neighbor to call
Right,
911. Yeah.
right. Most crucially, if Letitia's story was accurate, any reasonable person would have immediately called 911 and reported the home invasion, rape, and kidnapping of their child. Letitia called law enforcement hours later and did not report the alleged rape until approximately 2 days later. Of even more significance, Letitia said that she cleaned up the area where this alleged attack had happened. She straightened up signs of disturbances in Gannon's room and cleaned up the utility room. Investigators recovered cleaning supplies such as carpet brushes, which contained suspected carpet fibers. I submit that Letitia did in fact clean something up, but it was the murder scene of Gannon, not a sexual assault. They had to be laughing at this, Tisha Renee. They had to be, like, I mean, how can you can't even read this without laughing.
Well, Danielle, you have a favorite phrase you use. I'm not gonna make you say it on here, but they were probably thinking the one that's GTFOH. Get the
Oh,
F
get the
out of
fuck out of
here.
here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Yep. Um,
Yeah.
Investigators took steps to corroborate Letitia's statements before dismissing them as false and misleading. For example, investigators reviewed video footage from a neighborhood security camera that captured the exterior of the Stauch residence from the day of Gannon's murder and did not observe a Hispanic male entering the house. Investigators did observe Lena arrive home on the school bus at or about 3:11 p.m., observed her enter the residence, and observed her riding her bike at or about 3:30 p.m. Furthermore, Letitia was offered the opportunity to have a sexual assault nurse examiner sane examination at a local hospital. Ultimately, Letitia did not want to have the exam completed. When given the opportunity to provide investigators with evidence that would possibly identify Eduardo, Letitia refused to cooperate. Letitia said that she met Eduardo on January 26, 2020, the day prior to Gannon's murder. She generally described a Hispanic male with brown hair and brown eyes, but could not provide any specific identifying information. In summary, she told investigators that Gannon had knocked over a candle on Sunday, causing the carpet to burn. After that incident, she drove around the neighborhood at midnight, right? After
Mm-hmm.
the neighborhood Around the neighborhood where residential construction was taking place, she met Eduardo, who was working on a house, at midnight on a Sunday night, and asked if he would repair the carpet in her home. Eduardo agreed, and Letitia provided him the garage door code, and they agreed he would repair the carpet while she was shopping the next day.
There you go. Now she's giving cause to how somebody could have gained access to the house without breaking in. Because I normally, when I have something going on and my husband is out of town, I normally drive around my neighborhood, find random people, and I give them the code to my house and say, I'm going to be gone tomorrow. Just let yourself in and fix it.
Well, not only that, but who in the hell is working on a house at midnight on a Sunday night? Eduardo? Some random person that she made up in her head?
Eduardo.
I mean, nobody's nobody's working on new construction homes on Sunday night at midnight.
No.
That's just
Yeah.
I need an F word for that.
It's just felonious.
Yeah, right? Felonious.
Probably not even using it correctly. I
It's a
almost the falsehood. Yes.
falsehood, yes. You can read 93
Okay.
if you'd like to.
All right. Um. Okay. Oops. To the extent Letitia spoke about Lena, investigators were able to corroborate those statements, but never observed Eduardo or anyone else arrive or leave the residence during that time period based on exterior neighborhood video footage of the front of the Stauch residence. Specifically, exterior video footage revealed that Lena was riding her bike outside between approximately, 3:30 and 3:42 p.m. Furthermore, the front door of the residence opened and closed at 3:28 based on the data from ADT security system discussed more below. I know from training and experience that when individuals concoct lies most reasonably to conceal the truth, they oftentimes leave portions of the truth within those lies. I submit that the statements Letitia made reference Lena and the time period Lena was at the residence are likely true based on video evidence. Her other statements, however, are blatant lies designed to mislead investigators. Investigators also reviewed Letitia's phone records during the time period of the alleged rape of, 2:30 to 4:30. Am I doing that right? No. 3:30 to 4:30 on January 27th. During this time period, Letitia had phone activity to include an outgoing phone call and numerous iMessages, text messages using an iPhone, to Mr. Stauch and Harley, namely to discuss purchasing a new set of headphones for Albert. Those text messages occurred at the following times. So 3:41, 3:42, 3:43, 44, 45, 4:11, 4:19, and 4:20. So apparently Eduardo didn't care that she was on her phone while he was raping her. He was cool.
He was cool with it?
Apparently. Investigators also were granted a search warrant by this court that was served to ADT Home Security, which requested data stored on the ADT servers related to the Stauch residence. The Stauch residence was equipped with basement and living room motion detectors, and contact detectors on the front and rear was equipped with basement and living room motion detectors and contact detectors on the front and rear door. ADT was in possession of logs that documented the time, date, and type of event that generated a log. For example, when either motion detector was activated on the front or rear door opened or closed, there's a record of that event. Letitia claimed that she was raped in the basement between 2:30 and 3:30. During that time, the back door of the residence, located on the main level, was opened and closed 10 times.
Wait a second. So while he's raping her, and Lena's outside playing,
Right.
he lets her get up and go in and out of the back door of the house 10 times in the middle of raping her. Got it.
Right. Or somebody else was doing that.
Oh.
But it wasn't her.
No, it wasn't her because she was being raped by Eduardo. Okay,
Right.
got it. Got it. I got it.
If indeed Letitia was being raped in the basement, it would be impossible for her to open the upstairs back door of the residence at the same time. I submit that Letitia's claims of being raped in the basement are false based on her cell phone activity and the stored ADT data. The logs from ADT indicate significant activity in the basement of the residence where the evidence suggests Gannon was murdered. For example, between 1:23 and 1:26, or January 23rd and January 26th, in the hours of 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., the average number of basement motion events were 3.5. On January 27th, the average number of basement motion events was 10.3. A possible scenario for the increase in activity is that Letitia was going upstairs and downstairs in order to get cleaning supplies and cleaning the murder scene. Towards the end of the interview, Letitia said she wanted to leave. Investigators seized her telephone and detained her while they applied for a search warrant to obtain DNA collection. Letitia began stuffing tissues in her pants. Sorry, don't do that to me. It said she was having chest pain and shortness of breath. Investigators immediately requested medical assistance, and paramedics from the Colorado Springs Fire Department arrived. Letitia had appropriate responses to the paramedics' questions.
So, wait.
Oh my gosh.
She gets raped while she's using her cell phone repeatedly and going in and out of the house, and her stepson is kidnapped at gunpoint. But she goes to the police, and she doesn't call 911 for any of that. She doesn't report any of that.
No, she does report Gannon as a runaway.
Well, hours later, after she cleaned up all the evidence, so she says. But she starts having chest pain and shortness of breath, and the paramedics have to come for her after she's shoving tissue down her pants.
That's weird. The only thing I could think of is what Sparta said, like DNA was like she like fake crying and she wasn't gonna leave tissues behind, so she's like, well, I'm just gonna stuff them down my. She was practicing using her prison wallet. Sorry. Oh, my Tourette's. I'm so sorry.
Oh my god.
Oh dear. Okay. I'm aware that Letitia has made statements regarding Gannon's disappearance to individuals other than law enforcement, including but not limited to her friend, her husband, and the media. Indeed, some of those conversations have been captured and memorialized in recorded phone conversations, email messages. Letitia's stories have continued to evolve and material facts continue to change, including but not limited to the identity of her attacker, the location of Gannon's abduction, and the details of the alleged rape. During her statements, Letitia did deny killing Gannon and provided explanations as to why there was blood in her Tiguan, blood in Gannon's room, and why she was in the area of Palmer Lake, Colorado. Letitia is transported to a local hospital in Colorado Springs on 1/29/20. This is something we had never heard about before. You're still stuck on tissues down the pants.
The prison wallet.
Oh. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah. But I did. I didn't expect to hear it tonight. That's funny.
Sorry.
No, it's funny. Oh, I can't breathe.
I'm trying to imagine, like, this is such a serious thing, but what these law enforcement officers, what these detectives, what had to be going through their brain when she started, like having chest pains and like shoving Kleenex. What did he say? Oh,
call a prison purse.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not up on my incarceration accessories.
Oh, me too, Shannon. Me too.
I forgot all about the $10,000 worth of diamonds.
Oh wait, so Eduardo, this Hispanic man,
right,
raped her, held her at gunpoint, and didn't take her diamonds, but
he did take a suitcase and a cardboard box.
The cops took her diamonds. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Coconut fresh. Stop it, Manda.
What?
She said coconut fresh. Oh.
Letitia was transported to the hospital via ambulance from the EPSO for further medical attention. Letitia was accompanied by detectives during the ride to the hospital. Unlike questions at the EPSO by paramedics during the ambulance ride, Letitia was unresponsive to questions by medical personnel and seemed to have a miraculous recovery when they arrived at the hospital. The ambulance ride was audio recorded. Letitia received medical care at the hospital, and details of that care is not included in this affidavit for medical privacy reasons. Letitia did not have any life-threatening issues and signed herself out prior to all her exams being completed. Letitia continued evasive behavior at the hospital, but particularly after investigators told her they were going to detain her pending the issuance of a search warrant to collect her DNA. Ultimately, the search warrant for the collection of non-testimonial evidence was signed and executed. A second warrant for the compelled SANE exam was initially authorized by this court, but then quashed by the court. To be clear, Letitia did not allow a SANE exam to be completed. Letitia was not in custody after the warrant was executed at the hospital and left the hospital without telling investigators. She also made a phone call from the waiting room at the hospital. There was physical surveillance being conducted by law enforcement in the area, and investigators learned Letitia was picked up by an unknown person at the hospital and was reunited with her daughter several miles from the hospital. I I have to tell you, based on like the antics she had when they were transporting her from the Carolinas back to Colorado, that she didn't like jump out of that ambulance on the way to the hospital.
Right.
She's crazy. What are you giggling about?
She's something.
What
Oh,
happened while I was reading?
Ann Mata got me when she said Eduardo wouldn't touch the Vera Bradleys.
I'm not taking my diamonds in a Vera Bradley. Give me a cardboard box.
Oh, I wonder if she was wearing her Lily Pulitzer that day.
I don't know. There's a lot of there's something really there's some trends in here that really bother me, but they're just like weird and yeah, I don't know.
That is interesting, Suzanne. She's a minority, but blamed two other minorities.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
now we say, although her behavior was not illegal, I submit that as pressure continued to increase from investigators, Letitia became more and more desperate to leave the hospital, likely because she feared being caught in her lies. Furthermore, Letitia did not want to pursue collecting evidence that might assist law enforcement in identifying and finding her supposed rapist. Well, duh.
right.
That's my legal response.
So the searches of Letitia's residence and discovery of confirmed blood in Gannon's bedroom. Investigators searched the Stauch residence several times over several weeks after. Oh my gosh, sorry guys. Over several weeks after applying for and being granted search warrants from this court. The purpose of those searches was to collect evidence, including biological evidence, in support of the captioned investigation. The forensic searches were conducted by the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab. To avoid confusion, the January 28, 2020 initial search was authorized by Mr. Stauch, and he provided consent to search the residence. Not all of the evidence recovered is included below. However, the forensic testing results of several items, including a pair of size 8.5 Nike shoes, are discussed in paragraph 126. Gannon's remaining family members were living in the residence during the period of these searches, and investigators did not initially seal the residence off. Crime scene analysis from the Colorado Springs Metro Crime Lab responded to the residence and found traces of blood throughout the residence based on Blue Star forensic Latin bloodstain reagent tests. There was visible blood in Gannon's room, in the garage, and other portions of the house. Blue Star forensic stains has similar limitations to luminol, which has been described and discussed above. By the way of background, the residence located at 6627 Mandan Drive, Colorado Springs, Colorado, is a ranch-style single-family home, approximately 2,500 square feet, with a two-car attached garage. There are 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms in the residence. 2 of those bedrooms are in the basement, including Gannon's. Next to Gannon's room, there is an unfinished utility room, and on the other side of the basement, another bedroom and a bathroom. There is a staircase with a small landing that allows access from the main level to the basement, and the garage is accessible from inside the residence. The Blue Star reagent was applied to Gannon's bedroom, the hallway leading to the utility room from his bedroom, the utility room itself, the staircase and landing leading upstairs from the utility room, the pathway to the garage from the stairs, and the garage area itself. In all of these areas, investigators found positive results for the likely presence of blood. Specifically, in Gannon's bedroom, in a corner of the room, investigators located in an area where suspected blood had seeped through the carpet, through the pad, and stained the concrete. Furthermore, there was also bloodstain and projected blood spatter located on the walls in the area. Indeed, over 50 droplets of suspected blood were found on the walls near Gannon's bed. Crime scene investigators also suspected someone attempted to clean the walls based on the way the Blue Star reagent reacted to the wall. Gannon's mattress was also seized and contained a red stain consistent with blood in the same area as the stain on the carpet and the blood cast off on the walls. The stains on the mattress were swabbed but were not tested with Blue Star reagent. The laboratory results have not yet been returned, but because other blood in the area was determined to be Gannon's blood, investigators suspect the blood on the mattress is also Gannon's blood. And there are pictures within the affidavit. They're hard to see. We're going to have to do some work on those and see if we can get them lightened up a little bit. And I have included several crime scene photographs that include the wall next to Gannon's bed and the carpet pad that was removed by investigators to expose the concrete below. Based on the orientation of Gannon's bed, the vast majority of the blood would be in line with the position of his head and torso, consistent with the stain of the mattress displayed above. I submit that the blood located in Gannon's room appears to have been cleaned up based on residual blood residue on the baseboards and electrical outlet cover and the blood that soaked through the carpet. DNA laboratory testing has confirmed it was indeed Gannon's blood, and Gannon's body has not been found, reasonably indicating that this was likely the scene of Gannon's murder. Investigators have requested but have not yet received a report from Tom Griffin, who is an International Association for Identification, IAI, certified senior crime scene analysis, a bloodstain pattern analysis, and a crime scene reconstructionist. Mr. Griffin examined the blood spatter on Gannon's walls. Mr. Griffin preliminarily reported that the stains on the walls are consistent with one or more blood spatter producing events, which could include gunshot, blunt force, or a stabbing. Mr. Griffin did not believe the bloodstains were aspirated blood, primarily due to the lack of air bubbles in the stains. Furthermore, the shape of the stains were affected by the surface texture of the drywall itself. The final report from Mr. Griffin has not yet been received and is pending peer review. Trace evidence swabs of suspected blood were obtained from the electrical socket next to Gannon's bed. These swabs revealed the blood was indeed Gannon's blood based on DNA profile testing. The electrical socket also had evidence of streak marks, which are reasonably suspected to be from Letitia's attempted cleaning. When investigators removed the outlet cover, a visible red stain was present outlining its edges. The presence of the stain tend to support that there was enough blood around the outlet cover to seep around its edges, leaving a visible outline. So, at the time that this was filed, Gannon had not yet been found. We also have to probably come to the conclusion that this analysis that they brought in has finished his work as well, because the house is now up for rent. And if that analysis had not been finished yet, that house would not be released and up for rent. It's hard to even fathom what this little boy went through and why. Why did he go through this? Why did she do this? Um, Forensics is something that cannot be explained away. That is true, Sparta. And I don't know. I have no words. I have no words. I don't know where Amy went. It looks like she took a break for a minute, but
No, I'm here. I'm here.
okay.
I've just
Okay.
been letting, you know, you were reading. I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
And I had to plug in my phone because I was at like 2%.
You're fine. You're fine.
Yeah, I don't know why. There's no explanation for any of this.
There's not. I'm not sure. Not sure what to think. Not sure. So we can continue if you want, Amy. It's up to you.
Do you think we're maybe at a good stopping point for tonight, or we're gonna approach 3 hours soon?
Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions or things they want to talk about before we?
Yeah. Oh wait, Sparta. What did Sparta say? That I'm hoping he was dragged in and she kind of know what was happening. What are we reacting to here? I must have missed a comment.
Oh wow, hold on.
I didn't pull a screw you, I'm going home. Where are we? What is the long hair thing? Her long
What?
nothing. I'm just trying to catch up in the chat here. Her hair and fingerprints should be on the suitcase with him. You know, she was pretty careful about not leaving her DNA at the sheriff's office.
You know what's interesting is that Christina just sent this to me. Thank you, Christina. You know, when Tisha called in sick for work that day and said that she had to stay home because her stepdad had been hit and killed by a car or whatever.
Right.
So that happened, I believe, in 2004 or something like that. But part of her story was true because it looks like her stepdad was hit. Let's see. Yeah. He was struck by a car while walking in North Carolina.
In 2004, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So part of her story was true. It was just that it happened like 16 years ago.
Right.
Not
well, that's her pattern. There's even the detectives say that there's always a little bit of truth in her lies.
so that's an important thing to bring up. Here's some things for people to think about. Where did she come up with the name Eduardo?
Right.
What made her come up with that name? That comes from somewhere. I mean, Eduardo is a pretty unique name.
Yeah, it's not Eduardo.
Right. It's a very unique name. So that's something to ponder on and think about, you know, after we sign off and before we come back. Well, we'll probably do another live tomorrow night, maybe. Another thing to maybe put some thought into is why don't we see Gannon getting out of that truck with her? It's very, very concerning. Or not, I mean, it's concerning, obviously, but it's very, very puzzling. And you are right, Shannon. 2 truths and 1 lie is a thing. It is for sure a thing. It says what? Oh, wait.
Lena said in her interview that Eduardo was real.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we'll get to that maybe on tomorrow night's live, and
Right.
we'll see what we can come up with. And I actually have
Well,
to
I'm
work.
looking at see, I'm sorry. I'm looking at 93. To the extent Letitia spoke about Lena, investigators were able to corroborate those statements, but never observed Eduardo or anyone else arrive or leave the residence during that time period based on exterior neighborhood video footage of the front of the Stauch residence. Okay. So Lena's saying he was there, but they can't see it on video.
No,
Is
Lena's
that
saying that he's real. Lena's not
right?
saying that he was there, I don't believe.
But that he was real. Okay.
Yes, that Tisha really did talk to him about fixing the carpet.
Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Um, thanks, Rebecca, for sure. Thank you. So we'll plan on doing another live tomorrow night to wrap this stuff up. Are a lot of you guys off work right now? Are a lot of you home and off of work, or I am not.
Lockdown. Yeah.
I do have to work 8 hours at the ER tomorrow, but I am happy to do a live tomorrow evening when I get home.
I will be home.
Okay.
I am not essential. My other half is essential. I'm not.
So until then, guys, if you don't mind, I will drop the link one more time to our new Facebook page. If you guys are on Facebook, just give it a like and a follow, because we are going to post a lot of things on there, and we'd love to see you on there. You can join our Facebook group. Make sure you let us know that you came from YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And also, thank you, Rebecca. I'll be in full PPE. I think the hardest part is the anxiety that comes with it, because I sit and worry. And then, I have to come home, take my shoes off outside. You got to take your clothes off in your garage, take a shower right away. So that's stressful, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. And I'm thankful to be working. And
We're thankful for you too. So thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Um,
I have a little request.
sure.
If you guys had some questions in the chat tonight that weren't answered, or like when you get offline and you start thinking about this or whatever, if you would put your questions down in the comments, or not even like questions, because we're not really the gurus, but things that you want to discuss that you find interesting, if you could do that, that would help us better focus the next live, like to make it more curated for you guys to, because I think sometimes I'm not, Daniel's so much better at this than I am. I lose the chat starts moving, I'm trying to read, I'm looking to the side, and I know that some of the comments get passed by. So
Yeah, absolutely. You can also email us. You can email us at wickedtruths@wtaf.net. And that might also be helpful for us to see things in black and white like
mhm.
that as well. And thank you guys for all the well wishes. True
Yeah.
Helper, um, I'm honestly considering my car like a hazmat zone right now.
Oh, we don't even go
I,
in Chris's
I
car.
don't let my kids in my
Yeah.
car. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're the same way. We went for a drive around the neighborhood just to get out of the house the other day, and we had to go in my car. He thinks my car
right.
is too small,
Aw.
but we weren't gonna get in his car. It's like, no, that's a cootie bus. So no.
Thank you, Gypsy Soul. I will definitely try to stay healthy. I have some amazing support. Christina, one of our members of our WTAF team, sent me lots of immunity medicine, and I'm doing all those things and just trying to push through. So,
I think we should call the people on the admin team effers.
at first,
One of our effers. Christine. Just teasing.
that's funny.
Christina is like this. Everybody on your team is amazing. But Christina has just like an amazing heart. Actually, they all do.
Yeah.
Joe, Christina, yeah.
Yes, yes.
And
Yeah,
thank you to all the
I'm
moderators.
taking vitamin C, vitamin D3, as well as zinc. Something else that Christina sent me. Plus, I even upped it a notch and I bought prenatal vitamins because they're stronger than regular vitamins. So I'm taking those.
You're just trying to
Hey,
grow your hair long.
maybe it will make
Teasing.
my hair grow longer, but
Right?
um
The
thank you to
bombs.
all of the mods down there. You guys are amazing. We love
Yeah.
you. True
Doodle
Helper,
just
Shannon, Doodle, Manda. Who else is down there tonight?
Joe.
Rebecca, Joe's down there. Any of the mods that aren't here, we're so grateful for you. Thank you. And for all of our subs and everybody in the chat, you guys are all amazing. Did you have something else you wanted to say, Amy?
No, Doodle took my joke. I was gonna say the mods are the bomb, but she said bombers.
Bombers. The mods are the bomb. You guys are
Exactly.
awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I've missed this, and I know this is a crazy time for everybody, but I feel like we're all like friends and we hang out and we talk, and it's nice to see you all again. It really
It
is. I
has
miss
really
you.
been nice to see you all again. I feel like we're family, and we all started here following Gannon's case together, and we will follow it till the end.
Mm-hmm.
Till the
Yeah.
end and probably beyond, because speaking of which, my shirt arrived today. Did any of you guys get your shirts that ordered them?
I saw yours on Facebook. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
all fancy with your like move your phone around and look at my shirt.
Oh, I did a 3D picture.
I know. I know.
Aw,
All right, you
yes.
guys. Well, oh, look at the blue heart. Oh, see, I'm like, I want to do that too. And I can't because I can't comment.
Aw.
I'm thinking blue hearts. Blue hearts, blue hearts.
Oh, you're actually wearing it, Rebecca. That's awesome.
That is. All right,
All right,
well,
guys. We
good
love
night,
you all.
everybody.
Yes. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye. The blonde bombers. You guys are funny. We're going to have fun. We're going to have fun with this channel. All right. Good
Always.
night.
Good night, guys.
Bye.